All right, hello everyone. We've gone live and have gone live to the wrong spot. I've gone to the wrong screen, but it's all good. We do with what that is. We'll quickly go to the other one and then, yeah, there we go. Nightmare, how are you, mate?
I'm not so bad. How are you? I was going to say I can see myself on the YouTube, like.
Someone's blowing vape. That's the wrong screen.
I was blowing the vape rings in the little screen, and oh man, this is a little behind the scenes for everyone, and I'm a bit thrown now. Oh man,
yeah, this is going to be mint. Hold on, I'm just going to quickly check I'm not stuff. Oh, okay, cancel that. No one should be getting an echo now. Touch wood, unless I've completely stuffed it.
Nobody except me. All I can, you see, for those in the chat, Darius isn't wearing headphones, so everything I say is coming back through his microphone to me, and it's making me feel like I'm slightly insane. The fact that I've had barely any sleep isn't helping anything, but all I'm hearing is these voices in my head, and they're just whispering, Captain Gordon, Captain Gordon, and it's all going wrong.
Did you know, today I read something about there's an echo from Andrew's mic. All right, that should be fixed now, hopefully.
Testing.
Yeah, let's hope someone else can confirm that I fixed it, because I think it was because of the fact I had YouTube open on my computer and it was picking up the sound from that. So touch wood, it's fixed. We'll wait for someone to hopefully confirm in the chat. But let's be honest.
You might have to go on the hunt for some headphones.
I've actually, really funny. I've actually got a pair, but I don't know how to set them up. I've got a really nice pair of headphones as well.
They're all saying echo, echo, echo.
Crap. Hold on. I wonder what's causing the issue. Oh, hold on. Oh, no, it should be fixed now. I've changed the desktop audio. It should be fine. Yes, I fixed it. I fixed it. I know what the problem is. I'm not used to sitting there. Because I didn't get the starting screen on, I've stuffed up all the settings. All right, just give it a second, boys. Give it a second. It should be fixing itself. And he did yodel. I love it.
Yeah, well, I was asked to, so, just don't ask me to make it. Don't ask me to bring in more Salah, because that's not going to help anything.
Nah, it's not. It's not. I'm not bringing him in.
No, you're going to have to figure out.
I fixed it.
Oh, is it so? Damn. Tell him there's echo, so he has to put his headphones on. Only I have the echo.
You should just take them off. You'll get no echo then, I reckon. You'll hear me through the screen.
Yeah, but then you'll be echoing for everyone. It'll be a loop of echo.
Nah, it's the echo show. It's the echo show, let's be honest. It's great. So let's talk about our season so far before we jump into the amazing content that we've got to talk about today. 8.4 million for me.
9.4 million, 9.45 million. Don't take my 0.5 away from me. I've worked very hard for that 0.5. Oh, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. It's been a complete unmitigated disaster. Do you remember 3 weeks ago, Darius, when we were on the pubcast and we had such high hopes for the season?
We already...
Mo Salah's going to do nothing, and we're going to steal a march on all those big-name content creators. All those algorithm acolytes will be terminated like Skynet. And yet here we are, 8.4 and 9.45 million. All our differential delights have got injured or suspended, and the season is down the pan already.
It's been bad. It's been bad. I mean, I sat there and I know me and you both had the mistake of, I wouldn't say a mistake, but the unfortunate circumstances of the Cunha captaincy in game week 3.
You know what the worst one is? I started with Bruno Fernandes for that game.
Same.
And then I went on the black box and I was convinced to wildcard. And I thought, I'm lying there at 5 a.m, high as a kite from, such an adrenaline rush. And I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna have to do something here. I'm 9.8 million in the world. I'm gonna have to take a chance. And I thought, I'll bring in Cunha and captain him. And then bloody Bruno Fernandes gets 18 more points than him. And now Cunha's injured, so I'm thinking of bringing Fernandes back in. So the upshot is, I started with Fernandes for this Burnley game. I've transferred him out for the Burnley game, and now I might have to get him back in.
It's just rotten. It's absolutely rotten, isn't it? It's just, I was sitting there because I was like, in my head, I was like, couldn't you bring it in? Like, he's looked the best for Man United. Why not just take a risk and hope for the best? And then I was sitting there, I mean, like, the card has an obsession with Cunha. And I've now come to the realization that the one thing we're going to do moving forward is there'll be no more asking the card about Cunha because its judgment is clouded.
There'll be no more asking the card anything to do with my team because, strangely enough, it was your card that helped me think, come on, this is the card's last chance. It's troll me with triple Forest defence. It's troll me with Gordon captaincy. It's trolling me week in, week out here. But surely, Cunha, if you've gone for Cunha as well, surely this is the card's redemption. And 24 minutes later, I'm ready to go and get some matches and set fire to the cards. Hideous. I will not talk to the card again.
I mean, it's on the naughty list for me as well. I mean, like, the captaincy. I mean, let's have a look at our captains for the first 3 game weeks. So I went Palmer game week 1 for 6 points. I went Saka game week 2, which actually wasn't the worst considering he got 6 and ended up doubling for 12. And then Cunha for 2. What's your 3 captains been like?
Well, this is why it's gone so wrong. Because I captained Jared Bowen in game week 1, consistent FPL performer, average of about 170 points a season against a promoted team. I captained him in game week 1, 2 points. Then game week 2, I thought, right, I've seen game week 1, I've seen how focused Gordon is, I've seen that Liverpool defence concede 2 goals to Bournemouth, and there's an emotional intensity to this game. Gordon's going to step up. Well, he did. Gordon could have had a hat-trick in about 2 minutes. And then he got so excited, he scraped his studs down Van Dijk's leg, -4 points. And it's so frustrating because the second half we were going to attack the Gallagher end and Gordon was nailed on to score. Like, if he'd played 90 minutes, he would have got multiple returns. I firmly believe that. But instead, -4. And then this week, well, what can you say? There's 3 Man United attackers. You've got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, and you've got Fernandes. And 2 of them got 10 points, and 1 of them got injured after 24 minutes. And guess who I got?
You can't write it any better.
I don't feel like I've made too many mistakes. They've just not worked out. Like even Amad Diallo. How much have I hyped up Amad Diallo for months? And even he got an assist against Burnley.
He did.
And I could have got him. I could have stuck with Fernandes and got Amad in as a differential punt. And that would have got me like 26 points or something. But no, I have to think, I'm wildcard, best play it safe. Only 1 Man United because of the fixtures to come. And now I'm in the mud.
I couldn't believe it. I actually was rooting for a Gordon return. I was sitting there when I went Saka, I was like going, look, me and Nightmare both going differential captains because the majority of people still had like Salah or they had Haaland or Palmer. And we went, like, not many people owned Saka and, well, no one really owned Gordon. And it just couldn't have gone really any wrong. Saka got injured, obviously got the goal. But, I mean, that red card for Gordon, who could have predicted that?
Well, look on the bright side, though, Darius. For game week 4, for that big Burnley match, I have 0 Liverpool players. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, you never know. So I was looking, ironically, when I did the research for what we're about to dive into, some of the numbers for these teams in terms of expected goals and expected goals conceded is actually a lot different to what I thought it was, considering the goals that they've scored and the goals they haven't. For example, Liverpool are not even in the top 10 for expected goals.
That's because of crap. Like, did you watch them against Newcastle? It was all out defence. And then somehow they got 3 goals from like 3 attacks. Honest to God, Slot's taking that team back. And I know that sounds stupid when they're top of the table, having played Liverpool, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Arsenal, and they've won all 3 games. I know it sounds stupid, but Arne Slot's taking that team backwards. And Isak's not going to solve it. What's he... Like, the problem Isak had at Newcastle was he couldn't handle these low block defences. Well, that's all Liverpool are going to be up against. So I don't know what Isak thinks he's going to do there, except get injured. And, I'm not going to get into Isak. I've talked about him enough recently. But, yeah, I don't think Liverpool are all that.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely agree with that. So we're going to flick into the good stuff now, and I'm going to share my screen so you can actually see what's going on as well. So we're going to flick into here, and we've got the game week difficulty rating for game weeks 4 to 9. So at the bottom, guys, if you've got that ticker there, you can see I can't spell tomorrow, but maybe I'll address that in a minute. But if you haven't already and you don't do it during this stream, go out after this stream and go and hit up FPL Nightmare. His link to his channel is in the video, the stream description. So there's no excuse not to do it. Great content creator, and I tell you what, his videos are unbelievable FPL gold. So I can't give him a better shout out than that. It's great stuff. And I'm going to quickly share my screen so you can see exactly what I am talking about here, rather than me sitting there. Hold on, and share screen. And we're going to do display capture. There you go. You should be able to see what I'm looking at now, Andy, with a little bit of luck.
Oh, I've got YouTube up on the monitor behind my other one, so it's fine. Now, all you've done is shrink the screen for me, so now I get to see less D-Unit, and that just takes away why I'm doing this.
So we've got the game week difficulty for game weeks 4 to 9, and look, I always said at the beginning of the season, which is why I struggled putting my team together, because the fixtures for the first 6 game weeks just weren't very good for any really of the teams where we've got the popular assets, which is why me and you went a little bit differential with our lineups. And it's a frustrating, because you had Bowen in your original squad as well, didn't you?
Yep, Bowen, Watkins, Saka, Cole Palmer, Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
You know, and how different would it have been if Bruno Fernandes had scored that penalty against Fulham? Maybe I would have just kept him in there, but you can't bank on them getting 2 penalties in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, these fixtures, this is the problem. The fixtures are horrible. There's no runs for any team, apart from maybe Spurs and Chelsea, for any sort of length of time. Spurs probably good till game week 9. Chelsea, I think, till game week 16. But they have a couple of tough games in there, but they're spaced out, so you can get away with that. But everybody else, there's no flow. There's nobody you can sign and say, you look now, everyone's thinking, oh, who do I replace Cunha with? Who do I replace Sarr with? There's nobody, because you get 2 games out of them at most, and then it's right, who am I going to replace them with? People are on about Semenyo, but he's got Brighton and then Newcastle. They're not good games, No. They're tough. Well, I suppose Brighton aren't the strongest of defences, but then it's Leeds away. That looks a good fixture, except Leeds have kept 2 clean sheets at Elland Road, and then it's Fulham, and then Crystal Palace, and that's not a nice run.
No, it's not.
I suppose that's the thing for the league at the minute. There aren't any nice runs, because you can see pretty much any team beating any team. And when Sunderland got beat. No, they won, didn't they? They beat Brentford.
They did. I know.
So even the promoted teams are doing all right at home. So there's just no. It's all over the place a bit at the minute. A bit like my conversation here, because I'm half asleep and highly caffeinated. But it's just hard to think. There's a lot of people on Wildcard. Here's me jumping to another topic. There's a lot of people on Wildcard, but who are you buying for the long term? Because in 2 weeks, you'll want to Wildcard again. And 2 weeks after that, you'll want to Wildcard again. So it's a very difficult start to the season from an FPL perspective, I believe.
It is. And I was going to say, when I look at these fixtures myself, I sit there and I go, Bournemouth haven't got that bad of a run. They've got Newcastle, as you said, in 2 weeks' time. Tottenham, I won't lie, Spurs after the first 2 game weeks, I thought maybe I've got them wrong. And then they lost to Bournemouth at home. And now I'm like, maybe I've got them right. They beat Burnley, who I expect to finish 20th. And they beat City's kryptonite, because City just can't beat Spurs. They've actually beaten no one that you wouldn't expect them to not beat. So I think the West Ham away game this week is going to be very telling. If West Ham get a result there, I think that Spurs might actually not be as good as you think. But
yeah, well, this is it. Look at me. On my wild card in game week 3, I replaced my double Forest defence with double Spurs defence, because I am, if nothing else, a glutton for punishment.
And the other thing that I looked at, because you've got Agbadou on your wild card.
I did, and I regret that as well.
Well,
I regret my wild card. You don't wild card at 5 in the morning.
Well, Wolves are actually a really interesting prospect, because they had on paper what looked a fairly decent start for the first 9 or so game weeks. and they've not looked any good at all. They've looked horrible. I think they're in trouble. I think they could go down.
Yeah, I think they're in big trouble. I think Brentford, I know people are saying, oh, they're better than you think. I don't think they are. I think as the season goes on, that morale will dip and the Frank influence will fade. And I think Brentford will struggle, especially now Wissa's gone. Who's scoring the goals? Dango Ouattara, he scored about 5 goals last season. It's just not good enough. But Wolves, like, they've got Leeds, Sunderland and Burnley between now and game week 9. They're the big ones. If they can get 7 points from them, I think they might be all right. But if Strand Larsen's out, they're in big trouble because he's the only one.
Yeah, I think they made a signing on deadline day, but I'm not sure. So let's have a look at the league table because this is very interesting to look at. So obviously at the top, it's really weird. Normally at the start of the season, you have to wait a few game weeks for the top teams to end up at the top. But at the moment, it's Liverpool first, Chelsea second, Arsenal third. The only one that's missing is Man City. They're currently in 13th position.
Does my camera keep glitching for anyone? It seems to keep stalling on my YouTube, and I don't know, maybe I need it in a different USB plug, but
no, it's probably just it's probably just the time difference because you're in the UK coming to here. I always find that with Alan as well. His camera glitches a little bit, so don't worry about it.
Right, okay. Yeah. So I'll just try and make sure not to have like an ugly face for the glitch.
Yes, do the
glitch. Sorry, what was the question?
So I was like, I normally have to wait a few game weeks for the league table to sort itself out, but Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal currently are in the top 3. The only one that we expect to make the top 4 that's not there at the moment is Man City, who are currently in 13th.
Yeah, well, what I'd say is Spurs are 4th, and you've completely written them off already for only being 4th. So maybe we shouldn't read too much into it yet. But no, I mean Liverpool will be up there. Like somebody in the chat, Joseph Robinson, when I said that Liverpool aren't all that, he said they're going to win the league at a canter. They maybe will, but I don't think that'll be as much as them being excellent. I actually think Chelsea are probably going to win it. I don't know why. It's just a feeling. I think Arsenal have added a lot of strength to their squad, and once they get up and running, I think they could be dangerous. And I'm not ruling out Newcastle, like I maybe should. You know what? Last time we were in the Champions League, but we've got a lot more strength in depth now. You know,
I'd agree.
Our reserve defence is Malik Chow with all his Champions League experience, Ben Botman, who is an elite operator, and then you've got either Trippier or Lewis Hall on the bench. And I mean, that's a quality defence. Ramsdale, very good goalkeeper. And Wissa, like, fair enough, he's maybe not a magic man like Isak, but he matched him for non-penalty goals last season in a much worse team. So I'm actually really excited about Wissa.
Same. I'm excited as well. I hope he gets a start because I feel like I want a piece of Wissa. Like, imagine with the extra creation he's going to have around him, you would expect him, if he continues to get the same amount of chances, he's probably going to bang in another 19 goals.
Yeah, well, this is it with Shaw and with Cher and with Botman and with Hall. We've got all these defenders who can play these long balls for Wissa's pace, for Elanga's pace, for Gordon's pace if he's restored to the team after another stupid red card. We've got the pace, and Wissa, I just think he's just going to...
Oops.
Like, people are saying they think Wissa's the sub, but nah, he'll probably become the sub when Voltemade settles. But Wissa will be starting, and Voltemade will be eased in because he's only had half a good season. He's young, he's new to the league. Like, there's a reason we paid 20 million over the asking price for Wissa, and that's because Eddie Howe values him so highly and sees him as crucial, not only to our season, but to Voltemade's longer-term development. So, I mean, I'm not saying get him in for Wolves, but I'm not saying not to.
Yep, no, that's fair. I'm going to whack a poll in the chat very shortly to see who everyone thinks that will win the league in there. So I'm going to put in the options of Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea. If you ask me right now, I think Chelsea's squad's unbelievable. The only query I've got is that with Colwell definitely out pretty much for the season, they could become a little bit stressed defensively. And I still don't rate Sanchez as a goalkeeper. And Liverpool, I've got very much similar thoughts to you. I think that they've got a weird squad. I mean, Virgil van Dijk's 34. I don't know if I feel like the aura is disappearing from him I also think that Salah is 33, and I do believe, and I said at the start of the season, which is why I remember talking to you about it. I think that he's at the top of the hill. I think he's about to start going down, and we might be witnessing the very beginning of it. How quickly that happens, I'm not sure. But at the moment, I'm quite glad that I didn't waste 14.5 million on him.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it something like he's had no shots and no big chances in the last 2 games or something?
Yeah, something like that. Crazy.
I might have misheard the 0 shots, but I'm definitely no zero big chances. And I mean, that's a worry for Liverpool. And you don't know how they are going to adapt to Vert. I think Verts will probably prove a good player, but they're struggling to click with him at the minute. But at the same time, they've played Bournemouth, who look excellent defensively, Newcastle and Arsenal. Like, they're the 3 teams with the lowest expected goals conceded in the league. Liverpool have played all 3 and beat them. So
exactly, they just find a way.
Maybe, yeah,
which is
they do.
I can't stand Liverpool. There's nothing worse than them seeing. But when they won the league last year, I was like,
do you know, I always liked them until about 2 months ago. And then, you know, it's all the client journalism with Fabrizio Romano and Ornstein, getting Ornstein on the pitch to talk about it. It's just, they haven't covered themselves in glory this summer, really, and it's left a bad taste. So, you know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope Arsenal or Chelsea win the league.
I'm saying it as well. I would rather anyone win it other than Liverpool. I don't give a crap who else wins it. As long as they don't win it, I don't care.
It would be nice if someone like Bournemouth could go on a run and win it, you know, like Leicester did.
How about Sunderland?
I can't see it, but why not? They've got a good striker in Evan Nilsson.
Sunderland?
You know. Come on now. Come on now. It's Friday afternoon. Let's not get rowdy.
All right, let's have a look at some of the new signings that have come in, and well, particularly on deadline day, because there were a whole bunch. And look, there's 3 slides of this, so we're going to go for it pretty quickly. So, the ones that piqued my interest in particular were the Diakate from Bournemouth. Actually, looks pretty good at 4.5 million, and also what's his name? Fernandez the Fernandez to West Ham move is interesting. I don't think he's an FPL option, but I think he's going to make West Ham better. I'm not sure. Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin, I think, will be a good one. I've just seen somebody in the chat saying about Echo again, and I don't know what's going on. You're going to have to get these headphones figured out, Darius.
Nah, I think that was just a one-off. Maybe they watched at the beginning and they're behind on the live.
Right, I see. Right, yeah. Sorry. So I'm sorry. I'm underperforming on your questions here because that's 2 in a row. I've forgotten them before you finished asking. Well, I was distracted by the chat. So if you're in the chat, it's your fault.
Yeah, and we were reading the chat. Trust me, we will get to the chat at the end. We'll answer all your questions. We'll ask for questions at the end. But this is literally like we're trying to do just a random take on like what other pods are doing, but doing it in our style, because obviously we are quite loose characters in terms of what we think about FPL, and we're going to roll with it.
Right, I'm locked in now. I'm locked in. The chat is blocked off. Ask the question again. West Ham. It was something about West Ham.
Fernandez. I think he makes West Ham better, but he's not an FPL option.
I feel like anyone in that midfield makes West Ham better. I feel like that's been their problem at early doors. They've had no legs in midfield, and they've just been overrun. I don't know too much about Fernandez, apart from didn't he get relegated last season? But,
he did.
So did Ramsdale, and he's a good goalkeeper. But I think Fernandez will help West Ham. You've already seen that they went and beat Nottingham Forest quite convincingly in the end. Like, they won 3-0, and then I saw a highlight of Jared Bowen running through half the team, and Callum Wilson just like taking it off his feet, and then nearly had a fight over it. So, you know, of course it happens after I take Bowen out my team, but this is the way the game goes. I just don't rate Graham Potter.
Yeah, he's a bit like Harry Potter. You can't trust Harry Potter.
I don't know. It won't be long before he is Expelliarmus.
Exactly. Get him out of the league.
I just don't know how much of it was West Ham being good and Nottingham Forest being bad. There's clearly problems at Forest, and I feel like they're going to come to a head sooner rather than later.
Now, I've got to ask, what do you think about Man United's new goalkeeper signing? How do you say his name? Have you give it a go?
Lamens?
Yeah.
Sene Lamens?
Bit of a lemon, don't you reckon?
I think they'll be lamenting signing him before long. But no, I mean, I've, like everybody else, if they're honest with themselves, I've never heard of him, and I feel like it's a massive mistake. You've just seen Donnarumma go for a bargain price for a keeper of his quality, and Man United have brought in some no-mark from some no-mark league and expecting him to step up. And I just feel like Man United need proven players who can handle pressure, because the pressure at that club is killing young players. And they've brought in a young player. The first time he makes a mistake, it's going to be exactly what happened with Onana. So, like, what's the point?
I agree. So
yeah, you look at that Marmadashvili on Liverpool's bench. He's better than most of the keepers in the league.
Yeah, how'd they get him?
Well, they signed him last year and then left him on loan there. So clever. I think they were expecting Alisson to go to Saudi Arabia. But, I mean, Alisson's as injury-prone as to come. So, like, I've never known a keeper miss so many games, apart from Nick Poe. But, again, we've brought in Aaron Ramsdale to cover that. So, I just, like, Ramsdale, I feel, would have probably been a better keeper for Man United, you know.
100%.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, as my 9.4 million rank will attest to.
So I've got to rattle through a bunch of new players and tell me which one you like the most for like the foreseeable future, and potentially which one you think will top score at the end of the season. So Victor Gyökeres for Arsenal, Hugo Ekitike for Liverpool, Benjamin Sesko for Man United, Nick Woltermaid for Newcastle, and Randall Kolo Mani for Spurs. All forwards. Which one do you think's the best short-term pick, or like right now, and which one do you think will top score by the end of the season?
I think right now it's Ekitike. Like, I know they've just signed Isak, but like, how short term are you looking? Because you could get Ekitike for 2 weeks and then switch him for Erling Haaland or Ollie Watkins or even Gyökeres in game week 7. You could bring in. So I would say Ekitike for the next couple, because I think he'll get enough minutes to make an impact on the games they're playing. Even if it's not the full 90, I don't think that'll necessarily take away from his threat. Longer term, I mean, I just don't know, because I feel like they're all improving. Gyökeres did well at Sporting Lisbon in Portugal, but the last time he was in England, he was a 1 in 3 man in the Championship. And, you know, he's got penalties. Maybe they'll pad his stats a bit, but I wouldn't go near any of them long term, really, if I'm completely honest with you. Walter Maida, who knows? Kolo Muani, who knows? Like, will he displace Richarlison? He's had such a good start to the season. Sesko, I mean, he's a striker that takes the 10th penalty. I mean, that's just not good enough. That his career's over for me. Like,
I thought it was weird watching that game myself live, and I was like, isn't Sesko on the field? Like, what? When's he taking a penalty?
Yeah, well, this is weird. It. And like, people were saying on the black box that he had cramp or something, or he had cramp, that's why he didn't take it. If Alan Shearer had cramp, he'd still be taking the first penalty.
Exactly.
You know? Wayne Rooney had cramp, he'd still be taking the penalty. So I don't buy it. I feel like they should probably have loaned him out for the season and hoped everyone forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a forward, and I tell you what, if there was a chance to take a penalty and get a goal, I'm taking it every day of the week. I could be on one leg and I'd still be taking the penalty.
I mean, really, what Man United should be doing is going 4-2-3-1 with Fernandes in the 10 and then Mbeumo and Amad Diallo down the wings and Cunha up front. That would be the immediate solution, because, like, I don't know, Sesko, I don't know. Like, I'm not disappointed that he turned us down.
I'm kind of,
Like, Ekitike, I wish we'd completed that one, because he looks elite.
He looks mid.
But Gyökeres, I think the jury's out. I think he looked poor at the weekend. But maybe it just takes time. You know, it's hard to know with these new players. But then when they're good enough, Isak came to Newcastle and he tore Liverpool apart in his first match. So,
He did. Also,
So to answer the question, Ekatike.
What do you think about Xavi Simons?
I remembered the question.
You did a good job. Xavi Simons for Spurs. 7 mil. Is he tempting? Because obviously we've got the Cunha captain. We've got the Cunha problem in our teams and the Sarr problem. Is Simmons, or have you got triple Tottenham? You've got triple Tottenham. You can't even go there.
I wouldn't go there even if I could.
Fair.
I don't think, like, he's £7 million. You can look at the other options for 7 million, say 7.5 million, because we've all got money in the bank now with all the injuries. Like, why are you taking a chance on a player new to the league who flopped at PSG? And, you know, he had a decent run at Leipzig, but it's not like groundbreaking. And then he's coming into this team. Is he even going to start? How long is it going to be before he's in the team? Brennan Johnson's the top scorer for the last season.
So and he played 53 minutes. Johnson only played 53 minutes in game week 3. He got hooked super early.
Yeah, well, he would have been in my game week 1 team, but he didn't play against PSG. And then he started the following 2 games and scored twice. So, I mean, you know, I just think there's too many questions. And then I think there's other options. I'd rather go Eze.
Yeah, not fair. So we're going to. That's the last of the signings there. James Justin went to Leeds, so he's obviously not going to get a game. There's some signings I'm like going, I don't understand.
What I would say though about Justin is quite a few people have Goodmanson as the left back, the 4.0 million, and I think now you maybe need to switch to Rodon if you're on a wild card, because that Justin's a good player. He was a good player for Leicester, and he's going to get minutes, and maybe that helps in defence. But I think the advantage to defenders is the DEFCON points, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's a hard one. Would you rather they get subbed at 60 minutes, but they've got a chance of the clean sheet, or would you rather they played the 90 and get the chance of the DEFCONs? I don't know.
It's a hard call. It's a hard call.
Yeah.
So now, everyone, we're going to go through every single team. We're going to start at the 20th place team, which is Wolves, and we're going to work our way through to the top team, which is Liverpool, and we're going to show you exactly what we're going. I don't even know how I managed to put all this together when I was working all day today, but somehow I have. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And there's some interesting stats here as well. So I'm going to start with Wolves, and I've literally got the 4 top scoring players from each team, and we're going to talk about who they are. And I've got obviously the fixture difficulty rating for the next 6 weeks for each team, and then I've got their stats for the season. So Wolves, no surprise they're at the bottom when they've scored 0 goals, they've kept 0 clean sheets, they've only had expected goals of 2.13, and they've had an expected goals conceded of 5.7. So I don't even know what to say about that, but they've been unbelievably woeful. So their top scorers are Montesi, who's a defender, at 9 points. R. Gomez, a midfielder, at 7 points. Chan, 9 points. Actually, that's wrong. They have scored a goal. So I don't know what's going on there. I've stuffed that up. They've scored 2 goals.
What you've also done is Gomez is the defender, Monetti is the midfielder.
Yes. I knew there was one I'd stuffed up. I was sitting there, I put them together, and this is the only one I've stuffed up because this is the first one I did. And I think I got excited because Villa haven't scored any goals and they've kept no clean sheets. They've kept 1 clean sheet. So this is the one slide I've stuffed up. I was in a rush to put this one together because the last one I did. So I apologise that this one's slightly off. So Villa have scored 1 goal. Wolves have scored 2. But they've both been unbelievably rubbish. Wolves are starting just like they did last year, but this year they've actually had a much easier start compared to last year, and I'm concerned for them.
Yeah, I think they're looking one of the favourites to go down, and it's ironic because you look at them for assets on there, and I wouldn't recommend either of them. The 2 I would be looking at is Agbadou and Strand Larsen. I think when you look at them fixtures, Leeds, Sunderland, Burnley, even Brighton look wide open for Strand Larsen. And if they can now that his future is settled, I feel like it's going to help him a lot. And Agbadou, do you know what it is? Agbadou, I thought he was going to be a DEFCON monster, but he just hasn't been. Like, against Bournemouth, he got 14 defensive contributions, and he took a direct free kick, which I found very interesting. But against City and Everton, he got 7 and 6 defensive contributions, and that's really, really disappointing for me. Which is why I'm actually considering upgrading him to Virgil van Dijk for the game week 4, just to focus on the DEFCONs. I see somebody in the chat. Somebody in the chat's mentioned Walsh on the FPL wire last night. I watched that, and what's wrong with my microphone? Somebody say my microphone's not good.
It's a little bit crackly at certain points, but nothing too bad. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, it's just a little crackly, but it's fine.
Right. Well, I do apologise for that. Nothing's gone right.
He's been rattled. He's rattled.
I'm rattled by the sound. But yeah, I mean, Agbadu, you just avoid Wolves, wouldn't you? There's better options. If you want DEFCON defenders, you might as well get Leeds defenders for 4 million and put the extra money elsewhere.
Yep, no, that's fair. So obviously for Villa, ironically, all their players that are their top scorers are actually defenders. So Cash with 10 points, Dean with 9 points, Mings with 9 points, because obviously that clean sheet in the opening game week. And Rogers and a bunch of others are on 7 points. Now, the thing that's concerning, and like I own Watkins still, and I'm probably not going to sell him, because like when we look at the fixtures coming up, Everton away, Sunderland away, Fulham at home, Burnley at home, I can see goals. Like they've got to come surely. Like I don't know what to think of Villa's transfer window either. I mean, when you're bringing in Victor Lindelof on a free transfer and Jadon Sancho, I've got very strong concerns about how Villa's season's going to go.
I would say Lindelof's just cover though, isn't he? He's surely not going to be like first choice or anything like that. I mean, they've been playing Tyrone Mings, which is bad enough in itself. But yeah, there's something not right at Villa. I don't know what it is, but I've been very, very disappointed with them. But the thing is, last season they were very similar. They kept barely any clean sheets until the last 10 game weeks or something. But you look at them games, you think surely if it's going to click, it's going to be in the next 4 games, maybe the next 5. But then you think, if you're only getting them in for like 4 games, what's the point? you could get Rodgers, or you could get Semenyo, you could get Watkins, or you could get Ekitike or Gyökeres, so I just don't know if it's really worth the hassle. Because equally they've got Everton, who have looked good. Sunderland away, Sunderland have looked good at the Stadium of Light. Fulham are always a tough team with an excellent defender in Anderson. And then you've got Burnley, who they should win. But if they don't win the next 3, maybe even Burnley turn them over. You just don't know. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So look, I'm holding Watkins because of the fact that I'm not wildcarding. I'm not free hitting. And I think I'm just going to hope that he comes good. I'm going to have a little bit of patience. I heard Praz talking about it, and Praz is like going, I picked him for these run of fixtures just because he sucked the first 3 weeks. And let's be honest, he sucked. So at Villa. He should have scored against Palace, by the way, but he missed a good chance. But yeah, I've got to hold the faith. But look, let's be honest, these 2 teams have been turgid. And if you've owned any of their assets, you've probably been left very disappointed.
Yeah, well, I started with Watkins over Haaland, and I am very, very disappointed. I'm just absolutely rattled by people saying about my microphone. I'm like, all I can think is that it's something to do with the internet. Because is it crackling? Like, does it a constant crackle? Or is it like it's like dinging and stalling?
It's better now.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe I was just talking too loud.
Maybe
I'll turn the gain down. How do I sound now? Does it sound all right?
Yeah, it sounds fine. Yeah, just try to just fiddle with the game, see how it goes. So Fulham also, I can't believe Fulham are in the relegation zone, but unsurprisingly, as I predicted at the start of the season, no clean sheets for Fulham. None. They don't even look like coming anytime soon either. Ironically though, and Trig will sit there and I can't believe this, but in their 4 top scoring players, we've got Iwobi with 10 points in the midfield. Anderson, ironically, is one of the top scoring players. He has been getting those DC points. He's on 9 points. Smith Rowe's on 8 points. And Muniz is on 8 points as well. So, look, interesting stats here. Expected goals 3.54. But last season, Fulham had a fairly good defence. And I wouldn't say they've played anyone overly decent, to be honest with you. But their expected goals conceded is 5.5. So they're almost actually expecting to concede 2 goals a game, which is way worse than what it was last season.
No. I mean, what I would say, though, with regards to Fulham's defence, they've played Brighton and Chelsea away, and they've played Man United. And, I mean, they're not They are good teams. Certainly, Man United in attack is a good team. They've got some dangerous players. So I don't know how much we can draw from that, but they only kept 5 clean sheets last season. So it looks like the pattern is continuing, and Trigger Lips has bought a dud.
Yep, I couldn't agree. I told him. We warned him.
We did. Well, we did. And the thing is, like, Anderson, he's doing all right for DEFCONs. Well, other players are doing a lot better. you know? So if he keeps him on his wild card, he needs to give his head a wobble.
Now, really interesting. The next team, obviously, is your team, Newcastle, and they've only scored the 2 goals, which was against the top team in the league, but they've kept 2 clean sheets. Their expected goals has only been 2.87, which is the 2 that obviously they scored against Liverpool, and their expected goals conceded is unbelievably low, considering, you know, they've had Villa, they've had Liverpool, and they've had Leeds. Only 1.6 expected goals conceded, which is elite. Obviously, their top scoring players, Pope, 18 points, Livramento, 19 points, Big Dan Burn, 17 points, and Shah, 15 points. So it's literally the defensive show. They've looked solid defensively.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people forgot that about Newcastle. A couple of years ago, they were absolutely elite defensively, and it's not really a surprise. With hindsight, obviously, at the start of the season, I thought we were going to smash Liverpool 5-0. But now, with hindsight, we've not had a striker, and then we've had Gordon get injured. It's no surprise that we've tightened up at the back and made sure not to lose first. Although I feel like we could have won all 3 games we've played, and if we'd have got Wissa in 2 weeks ago, we'd be top of the table with 9 points, because we just, like, defensively we're so solid, and we've had Joe Linton missing for half of those fixtures. People saying Lewis Hall needs to start, but he's competing with Tino Livramento, who's probably the best fullback in the country right now, you know. And I mean, Salah, we talk about Salah not doing anything. Well, part of that's because he was against Livramento, who, for the second game running against Salah, absolutely nullified him, absolutely shut him out, until right at the very end, when after playing an hour with 10 men, you know, we went for the win with 10 men against Liverpool, and sometimes when you do that, you get punished. But you'd rather go for the win. We only lost 1 point. We could have gained 3. Well, I suppose that's a bit like my FPL team, isn't it? I'm going for the 3 points every week when I should just settle for the 1. But I feel like now we've got a couple of strikers. I feel we're going to be a dangerous team. Wolves, we're going to put to the sword. Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth will win, because Eddie Howe, I don't think it's ever won away at Bournemouth, and they're a bit like a bogey team, like you talk about Spurs and Man City. But then we are a bogey team for Arsenal, and I feel we'll beat them at St James's Park. And then Forest are a shambles, and Brighton away defensively, they're a shambles. And then Fulham, well, we know about Fulham. So, you know, I'm talking myself into captaining Wissa now.
I like it. Honestly, I think there is a week where, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like going, provided I would still want to see how Newcastle go in the Champions League before, like, fully committing into them, because I do know that obviously the last time they were in there, they had a little bit of difficulty. But I kind of wish that I'd gone with a bloody Newcastle defender instead of Forest defense, because I could be like, I think Milenkovic is got 5 points for the season, and I look at Livramento, who is now 5.1. He's got 19 points for the season. I mean, I'd be so much better off.
Yeah, well, this is it. There's actually somebody in the chat saying which Newcastle defender is the best defensive asset. It's Livramento.
Yep.
Now, I don't think he'll get the DEFCON points, and he won't get that many attacking returns, but he's the only one in the Newcastle defence who you can say is nailed. Because if he plays right back, Hall will play left back. If he plays left back, Trippier will play right back. I think in central defence, Dan Burn looks nailed, but he's got Sven Botman behind him. Fabian Schär looks nailed, but there's Malik Chow behind him. And I mean, Burn and Schär are 32 and 33. You know, they're not going to play every week. Certainly with the players we've brought in as the cover. So I would recommend Livramento. And a little thing, Livramento's added the long throw to his game, so there might even be a cheeky assist from a throw-in before long.
Yep, couldn't agree more. So moving on to the 16th and 15th place teams. And these two teams, I was obviously heavily invested in myself at the beginning of the season. And so was Andrew. So, well, in regards to West Ham. So thankfully, I got 10 points of Juve on the weekend on the field from the bench, which we'll look at a little bit later. Jared Bowen, that's unfortunate. I mean, we both sold him in game week 2 for players that, well, I don't know. It depends on who you classify you sold him to. But, I mean, your forward line went pretty well this week regardless. But it's kind of annoying that the week we got rid of him, he should have had 2 goals. Let's be honest. He should have had 2 goals. Yeah. But Paqueta, 21 points there from, obviously, he's on penalties and he scored that worldie. Wilson's on 9 points from the bench, which is interesting. There's a few players that are in the top scorers for their teams that have literally come off the bench every game, and Wilson's one of them. So West Ham have scored 4 goals, have kept 1 clean sheet. They've had an XG of 3.71 over the first 3 games, and their expected goals conceded is actually a lot better than some teams. It's only 4.2. So it's not like we all thought that they were rubbish in game weeks 1 and 2. But in reality, their expected goals conceded, I think that they've been a little bit unlucky in terms of like the fact they conceded 3 against Sunderland and then 5 against Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea were just elite with their finishing in game week 2. And yeah, I think I don't know, they're a very hard team to read. Graham Potter just inspires no confidence. I mean, when your last name is Potter and I feel like Voldemort's out to get you every single game week, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that expected goals conceded is a bit surprising because I feel like the problem is they've just been caught on the counter-attack so easily because they've had no pace in midfield, and that's where that Fernandes might make the difference. One thing, like you said about me selling Bowen, and it wasn't frustrating because I brought in Haaland and Joao Pedro, and who do I want next week? I'd rather have Joao Pedro and Haaland. Who do I want in game week 6? Well, it's obviously Haaland. Obviously, Chris Wood. I maybe could have kept him over Chris Wood, but I don't think it was the wrong decision to bring Chris Wood in for him. But Fulkrug being injured is an interesting one, which I actually think might help them because now they can play Callum Wilson from the start, and I think Wilson's a better striker than Fulkrug. I think he's proven that over many years. He had a tough season last season, but he just couldn't get in the team with Isak in the form he was in. But I think Wilson will be a very good player for West Ham while fit. I think Paqueta, I don't know how long Paqueta's current run will last, but it's 4 goals in 4 games in all competitions. But it doesn't feel sustainable to me.
I agree.
For Paqueta. But 5.9 million, like if I had the money in the bank, which we all do with the injuries, would I get him over Elliot Anderson? Well, why not? He's on penalties. And, we know how important penalties can be. So somebody's saying West Ham has switched to a back 4. Maybe that will be a difference, but I'd still prefer like Spurs, Palace, Everton, Arsenal aren't fixtures I'd be looking to bring them in for. So I'm happy to wait and see what happens and maybe look at getting one of them in for that game week 9 game against Leeds.
Yep, I agree. So the other interesting thing when I look at Brentford, so obviously I own Collins. And he only just missed out on this. He's on 12 points for the season, and I benched 9 of them, so that's on me. But they looked awful in game week 1. They looked half decent in game week 2, but I think that's just more on Villa than anything else. Then they went away to Sunderland. This was a weird game. So they took the lead against Sunderland. They then get the penalty. Shard misses the penalty, which would have made it 2-0. And then Sunderland obviously buoyed off the back of the fact that they're back in the game because the penalty's been missed, come back and win the game 2-1. Now, the interesting stats for Brentford is they've got expected goals of 3.9, but that includes the penalty against Nottingham Forest game week 1 and the penalty that they missed in game week 3. Again, their expected goals conceded is not as much you would think. It's only 4.6 in comparison to some other teams. It's not the worst, but it's not exactly excellent. I'm just... like, Dango obviously is going to add points. He's their top scorer, 15. Thiago's obviously scored twice, 14 points. Then it's Van den Berg, who, ironically, I think a lot of people have overlooked for defensive contributions. And Lewis Potter is on 13 points as well. Now, he's been quite lucky. He's been subbed early on in games, and I think potentially against Sunderland, I have to go back and check, but I think he got subbed when they were on a clean sheet. So he got the clean sheet points, and then
he did.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what to think of Brentford. I quite like Dango because I feel like his ceiling is through the roof, but I feel like he could also be unbelievably rubbish if Brentford are no good. And Collins, I bought for the DC points, and yes, he's got him in 2 of the 3 games, but if you keep conceding 2 goals a game, that's not really going to help getting the DC points.
Yeah, I mean, for Brentford, you just have to look at them fixtures. Chelsea, Man United, Man City and Liverpool. They're just not, even though all 4 of them games are at home, they aren't fixtures to be bringing anybody in for, especially when the defensive assets are looking the most promising ones. You know, that Vandenberg, I think he's like 3rd highest of all defensive contributions or something. He's got them in every match. Yep. And, you know, that's fantastic. I know Jelena, she went with Vandenberg and got a bit mocked for it, but he's absolutely smashed it so far. And he nearly got an assist as well, but the penalty was missed or a goal was ruled out or something. So I think Brentford are in a void for me. Like, the best players for me are the defenders, and I think the defence is poor. So, and then they've got them games. Them next, 4 of them next 6 games are horrible.
I know. Look at them. I'm like going Chelsea at home, no clean sheet. Fulham away, probably no clean sheet. Man United at home, no clean sheet. Man City at home, probably no clean sheet.
No, even
and
West
then you got
Ham
Liverpool in game week 9.
No, this is it. By game week 10, they could be rock bottom of the table.
They could
having
be.
conceded 3 goals a game. I just think there's better options.
Yep, I agree. Let's have a look at who's 14th and 13th. So we've got Burnley at the high levels of 14th. Who would have thought that 3 game weeks in? They've scored 4 goals, which is a lot more than I thought as well. They've had 1 clean sheet as well, obviously when Sunderland came to home. Now, their expected goals is only 3.14, but this is the concerning stat already. Expected goals conceded for Burnley, 6.7, which I think, if I've got my stats correct, is the worst in the league. And they've got Liverpool home, Forest at home, Man City away, and Aston Villa away in the next 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, they're doomed, aren't they?
They're 20th.
We don't really need. We've got 20 teams to get through. I don't think we need to do much analysis of Burnley. You get Dubravka as your sub-keeper because he's a 4 million that's playing, and then you just try and bench boost in a week where he's got a half-decent game. I don't think they're going to do much.
Nah, a fair play to the people. I think there was a team in game week 2 that had Cullen and Anthony. They both got a goal and assist. I mean, you can't make that nonsense up. So fair play to any idiot that did that, but you're probably regretting it now.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any point really discussing them. I don't think any of them are good assets. Even Dubravka.
I agree. So onto an interesting team now. And look, Man City are always an interesting team. So they're 4 top scorers this season so far. Haaland has started, as per usual, like a house on fire, 24 points. Reindeer's obviously had that big haul in game week 1, so he's 2nd and 14. Lewis is on 13 points. And Trafford is on 11. Now, Trafford is probably not getting a game now because Donnarumma's signed for Man City, and there's no way that he's sitting on the bench. Lewis obviously didn't start game week 3 because your mate, Mateus Nunes, started instead. And their fixtures are interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot in game week 4 because the Manchester derby is going to be a very interesting watch because City look like they still have the same deficiencies from last year where they don't know how to defend. Even Rodri started that Brighton game and they still looked like they just fell apart. When they took the lead, Haaland probably should have doubled it, but then they just collapsed pretty much. And their expected goals, 5.84, so they're almost level with that. But expected goals conceded is the worst of like the top 4 teams by a fair distance. 4 expected goals conceded is not good.
No, and I was watching a clip from the other day when Brighton scored, and it showed Ruben Diaz, and he was just ambling back, and if he'd have been going full whack, he could have stopped the goal, and he was just ambling, and you have to question the hunger. I feel like a lot of these players have been there and done that now, and they're never going to beat that season when they got the treble, and I just don't see... I feel like they have answer for Man City is in regeneration. They need to be playing these hungry players like a Rico Lewis, like Oscar Bob. And I feel like he's trying to do that, and it's just taking a bit of time to gel. But I feel like Man City are going to be, once it clicks, they often start slow, Man City, and then around November, it all starts to click, and you have to watch out. It's why I always want Newcastle to get Man City away in the opening couple of game weeks, because that's when you can get at them. But once it settles in, I mean, they're missing Gvardiol at the minute as well. He's a big loss. And Rodri's still working his way back to fitness. But, you know, they've got a few injuries now, and I think that's going to help them because there's not going to be that rotation. Like, surely it's going to be Rodri and Reinders in the middle, Marmoush just ahead of them, and then Bob and Doku on the wings perhaps, and Haaland up front. And if they have to stick with that for 6 weeks, I think by the 6th week they're going to be smashing teams. I just think it's going to take a bit of time. They need to get these hungry players with a point to prove in the team. And I would actually class Haaland as one of those players with a point to prove, because I don't think he has proven himself to the level where he's hyped.
Yep.
Certainly in FPL terms, he's been outscored by Ollie Watkins 2 seasons running. And I'm not sure Erling Haaland's lying there thinking, oh, how can I get an extra 3 bonus points so I can beat this Ollie Watkins? But that first season, he was a phenomenon.
He was.
Now he's just a very good, very consistent striker. He rarely gets hauls. Never mind, you know, he'll score 2 in 3 games, but he rarely gets a double figures. I don't think it's scary to go against him as a captain, but I think he's a good captain to have because he is consistent. You know, he'll get you 8 points a week most weeks. But I feel they're going to improve, aren't they? And I feel there's a bit of happenstance to what has happened early doors. Like, I feel like last season they started Rico Lewis and they started Pueli, and then they bombed him out around October, November time, and they got way better. So, you know, you'd think he'd learn from that, but
it's Pep.
What do you think?
Look, I've watched all 3 City games. So against Spurs, I thought they were rubbish. Against Wolves, I couldn't tell if it was because Man City have looked good going forward, but even Wolves had their chances in that game. And then against Brighton, like Haaland's got more XG than half the teams in the league by himself. Like, which is just insane. So, like, if there's a player you
more
want...
XP than Liverpool.
Yeah. I was like, he's a player that I think is, at the moment, based on what we're seeing in games, yes, City are not winning them, but the player that's getting the most XG, you probably want in your FPL team, which means that Haaland, for me, is a much more of a must-have than Mo Salah. Because based on what we're seeing at the moment, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I think Haaland's the best captain this week, and I know you won't want to hear that as a
Man United I'm saying he's either going to score 2 goals or he's going to blank, so I'm betting him to score 2 goals.
Yeah, I feel like while everyone's tying themselves in knots about which Liverpool attackers to get, I feel like they're overlooking the obvious answer that Man United are not very good defensively, and Erling Haaland is in ominous form with a point to prove, and I feel like it could be a week where he gets a hat-trick. And
I agree.
Saves my bacon with no Liverpool players.
I've got Cody Gakpo. I'm just hoping that everything goes through him in that Burnley game, and I'm just hoping for a Haaland just domination. So, yeah, that's Man City, and we're on to 12th and 11th now. 12th and 11th is Leeds and Brighton. I mean, Leeds, I kind of expect... Actually, with Leeds' fixture run coming up, I feel like potentially they could be mid-table around Christmas because they haven't got any of the big teams in the next 6 weeks. They've got Fulham, Wolves, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Burnley and West Ham. And their expected goals conceded is obviously 6.7. But if you take the Arsenal game out, Leeds have actually defended quite well. They've only scored 1 goal, which is problematic. And when you're bringing in Dominic Calvert-Lewin as your main striker, I mean, that raises concerns unless you're Andy from Let's Talk FPL and you're probably salivating at the prospect of bringing him back into his team. But... But, I mean, it's no surprise that most of their scores or point scores have all come from defenders. I mean, it's Goodmanson, Strike and Rodon. Goodmanson's actually yellow flag, so that's something to monitor if you own him in your team. But, yeah, what do you think about Leeds? I mean, they're a hard team to read. I just don't like Leeds because they're Leeds scum. So unfortunately, if there's anyone that supports Leeds in the chat, unfortunately, my favourite chant is, we all hate Leeds scum, we all hate Leeds scum. And then we hate Liverpool and Man City.
Well, with Leeds, I think it's clear that they're the best 4 million defenders in the game. Certainly at home, like I wouldn't feel confident playing them away, but we've only got that Arsenal game to go off. But I feel Rodon or Goodmanson as a 4 million enabler, as your third sub, is exactly what you need. The problem is they're both yellow flagged. Rodon's actually yellow flagged now as well. So,
is he? Oh, that must have changed. I literally did this today, so he must have been yellow flagged after I put this together. That's mad.
In attack, I don't know. I think Calvert-Lewin's looked quite dangerous in the cup and in
the cup. Who did he play? Chances. League Two?
I can't remember, to be honest. It wasn't
probably a League Two team.
But it's just, I think he's getting chances, and I mean, if you talk about a player with a point to prove, but then Calvert-Lewin has done nothing for years. You know, he had one good season 5 years ago, 2 good seasons 5 years ago. Let's be fair, it was 2 seasons. But since then, he's got 17 goals in 4 years, and he's been playing most of the games. It's like he's cured his fitness issues at the expense of his goal-scoring ability. And maybe it's because he won't go balls out to get the goals, and that's why he's staying fit. But, you know, maybe it's because he had Sean Dyche at Everton, who knows. But, no, I like Leeds. I think they're going to be very solid defensively. I think with Longstaff and Stack and Tanaka when he's fit, I think that is a very solid midfield base, and it's going to be hard for teams to break through that. In attack, like Nonto maybe is... You know, he's a skillful player. I think he's too small. Well, haven't they? Is it? I can't remember. Is it? I'm looking at Okafor and the Mesha. I can't remember which one.
Okafor. Yeah, apparently he's a new signing. Apparently, I think he's meant to be half decent, but I don't really know much about him, to be honest.
Yeah, but with regards to FPL, get one of the 4 million defenders if you want, although I would actually go a bit higher to 4.5. I think there's better options. But if you want a Leeds player, get a 4 million defender and play them in the home games, and you should be laughing.
Yep. Now, on to Brighton. Now, this is an interesting stat for everyone. Now, I've just seen in the chat as well that everyone seems to think that Isaac is going to affect Cody Gakpo more than Ekitike. Now, I would say to you lot in the chat that last season, whenever Gakpo was fit, he started instead of Diaz. Slot loves Gakpo. I don't know if it's because he's Dutch as well as Slot, but I'll just put that into the chat for people to discuss in there, because honestly, I think that of all the players that are at Liverpool, he loves Gakpo the most from what I've seen last season and what I've seen this season. Now, on to Brighton. This is really interesting. So, as per usual, they spread the points around. So, Gruder's on 10 points at 5.4. Matoma at 6.4 is 9 points. Minte's 9 points. And Dunk is 8 points. They've not kept the clean sheet. They've scored 3 goals. Their expected goals is 6.21, so they're massively underperforming there. Expected goals conceded is 4.2. But the interesting thing is that Gruder is their leading point scorer in FPL, has not started one single game of the first 3 game weeks, and he's the top scorer, which pretty much sums up Brighton and FPL, really.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very strange thing, a very quirky statistic about Gruder, but at 10 points, you're talking, what, 1 goal?
Yep.
Yeah, 1 goal against Man City. So it's not, I mean, anyone can get 10 points in 3 games, really. All you need to do is get a bit lucky. But I don't really know about Brighton. I think defensively they're a no-go.
Yep.
And, of course, I started with the Kuiper.
Same.
So.
He's gone now. I've got rid of him.
I knew it was a gamble, and I knew it would probably go wrong, and it did.
He scored the other night. He scored for the international team. I was like, well, you probably can't do that in FPL. He probably does it on the international team.
But, I like Minty, but I don't know how reliable he is. I just think there's better options. Like, for the same price, you could have Paquetá, and he's on penalties, and I think you'll probably get around the same sort of points.
I don't think much of their fixtures come like over the next 6 weeks either, to be honest with you. I mean, they're not... I mean, they're a lot of grey, but I don't think Newcastle, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Bournemouth are an easy fixture run at all. I think that's actually quite difficult.
Yeah, and I'd say they've got like 4 away games, of the next 6, and I think the 2 home games are as tough as it gets anyway. So I feel like they could be in a bit of trouble. I think there'll be questions being asked of their manager Hertzler by the end of that run, and maybe there should be, because I don't really rate him.
No, that's fair. On the 10th and 9th, and but these are 2 teams that heavily affect myself, considering I own 5 players of my 15 are currently Forest and Man United players. So Forest, interesting. I thought that over the first 3 weeks we were likely to see a clean sheet against Brentford and West Ham, and we saw neither. So they've scored 4 goals, 0 clean sheets, expected goals of 3.49. But the alarming statistic is expected goals conceded of 5. So their top scorers this season are Wood with 17 points, all pretty much from game week 1. Ndoye, who's been pretty good value at 6.1 with 17 points. Hudson-Odoi at 6 million with 14 points. And Anderson, with that assist and just appearance points, 10 points. So, I mean, they've got Arsenal this week, which is why a lot of people are probably free hitting and wildcarding because they've lost patience. But I still look at game week 5 and game week 6 and think, if there is ever a chance of a clean sheet, those are the weeks. Surely, right?
Yeah, you've got to think. I mean, I got rid of all my Forest defenders on my wild card because I just don't trust them. A team that can, and then went and conceded 3 at home to West Ham, so I felt quite vindicated in that decision. And that's another reason why I didn't mind Bowen scoring in that game, because I knew so many people had Forest defenders, so he still got me points in the aggregate from that. But very strange things going on in Nottingham. You know, it's almost like Nuno Santo wants to be sacked, and they just don't want to sack him. And like, they're talking about bringing in Ange Postecoglou. I mean, I just feel like Forest assets are a no-go after game week 6. I think you need a plan to get rid of them, because so many people are doubled up on the defence, and they're talking about bringing in the least defensive manager perhaps in the history of football. And it's like, it's
scary.
And I feel it will happen. I feel like that managerial switch will happen. It's just when.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they're waiting, because it's clear that Santo and Marinakis can't stand each other, and they might as well just bite the bullet and get it done before Europe starts. But very proud of Elliot Anderson getting it into the England team.
He's done well.
Lovely.
He's done well.
He's looked
good. He's looked good. Now, an interesting thing here, I've just closed the poll for who the chat thinks we're going to win. We had 112 votes. 58% think Liverpool are going to win the league. 18% think Arsenal are going to win the league. Chelsea, 16%. Man City, 6%. I can't believe everyone thinks Liverpool. I mean, they've been churning out results, which is the hallmark of champions, but surely it should be a bit closer than that, the poll, surely.
I just think people are looking at him thinking Isak's going to make them unstoppable, whereas I actually think it's going to be quite a difficult transition for Liverpool. Like, somebody said this is an anti-Liverpool stream in the chat. It isn't an anti-Liverpool stream, but factually, looking at it, maybe not factually, opinionally, looking at it, I just think it's going to be quite difficult when you've spent £200 million on strikers and you play one striker. It's like, that is a tough balance to strike. You've lost Trent Alexander-Arnold, who was a creative fulcrum of the team for the best part of a decade, and you've replaced him with a completely different style of player. And it's no surprise to me that they've actually looked better with Szoboszlai at right back, because he's probably more in line with the way Trent would play football. So people saying about Frimpong, maybe Frimpong's going to be out in the cold already because of how Szoboszlai is playing right back. But how is Szoboszlai going to take that? You're losing his energy from midfield. I think Wirtz is taking a bit of time to adapt. I just think it's a tougher task than. I don't think Kerkez looks very good at the minute. I think he's been exposed a bit so far. I feel like it's going to be a tougher season than people giving credit. But at the same time, the champions have signed £200 million, 300 odd million pounds of attacking talent, and they've won the first 3 games, including Newcastle and Arsenal. So you can't really fault people for thinking they're going to win the league.
Exactly. Now, onto Man United. Obviously, my team, I support Man United. And look, I said at the start of the season when I was debating picking Dorgu, and I thought about Euro, and I kind of wish I'd gone with Euro because he's been a lot more consistent. He's got 11 points. He's the 4th most high scoring player. Delit with 12 points, which I thought was a bit weird, but apparently he got an assist in the last game week. I must have missed that one. Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo both on 14 points. Both scored 10 points in game week 3. And look, I could see the chat talking a lot about Bruno and whatever. The dude's history in FPL is elite. Now, even though this is an interesting stat for you. So Bruno has created the most chances in the Premier League. He's also recorded the most ball recoveries, or whatever you want to call it, in the Premier League this season. So even though he's playing in that midfield 2, which is deeper than what we're used to, he's still churning out chances that have been missed more often than not. Obviously, it was frustrating owning him in game week 2 when he missed a penalty, because realistically that would have been another. He would be on like 24 points probably if he'd actually scored that. Man United, the biggest underperformers in terms of XG as well, or close to it. So 4 goals from 6.78 expected goals. So Man United, I didn't realize we were actually creating that many opportunities. I mean, like, we've looked better than what we've looked last season, let's be honest. We shouldn't have lost to Arsenal. And Fulham, we were just, unfortunately, the goalkeepers killed us. And expected goals conceded of 4.3. So if it wasn't for Flappy Bird flapping the ball for like literally 1 XG on the line against Arsenal, that would actually, the defending has actually been not too bad, but they've still kept 0 clean sheets. But again, that comes down to the goalkeeper, and the goalkeepers are just killing United. And I think realistically, that's kind of where I expect us to finish based on the fact we still haven't signed a midfielder. 9th, I think, is pretty accurate where I think we'll finish, to be honest.
I think you'll finish a bit higher. I actually think once Europe starts, there's 9 teams from the Premier League playing in Europe, and I think the extra training ground time will have a positive impact on Man United. But I just think you need to change the manager. I just don't understand it. That squad is perfect for a 4-2-3-1, and he's persistent with this nonsense formation with players who don't fit it at a club that it's not a formation. Man United are a club that have a style you should be playing, and for me, it's counter-attacking, high-intensity football, not this 3 at the back, wishy-washy nonsense that they are playing. With regards to Fernandes, well, I was high on him. I said in Pubcast, I thought he might be the top scorer this season in the game, and if he'd have scored that penalty, he would have been the 2nd highest scoring midfielder by 1 point.
Yep.
So I think he's actually tracking pretty much how I expected. Of course, he just got the points when I sold him and took a chance on Cunha.
It's always the way.
Yeah. I mean, from an FPL perspective, I feel like you just have to take your pick, really. Bruno Fernandes is clearly the best. He's probably the best midfield option in the game when you factor in price. Like, you could argue Salah will get more points, but
I don't think he will. I think Bruno outscores Salah comfortably this season. Comfortably.
I don't know about comfortably, but I do think it'll be very, very close. And I think Fernandes has got a good chance. I think it'll come down to who gets the most penalties.
True.
But you've got to factor in the AFCON as well with Salah being away.
Yeah.
But Cunha or Mbeumo, like, they could do anything. Amad Diallo, if he gets consistent minutes, I think I really rate him. Even in that stupid right wing back position they're playing him, I feel like I really rate him. I think if excuse me, I'm on the fizzy pop now. I'm burping.
Yes.
I think he's a 170 point player, Amad Diallo, if he gets the game time.
I agree.
Defensively, I think it's a bit of a shambles, really. But it shouldn't be. You've got good defenders.
I agree.
A top defender. Maguire's a top defender. I don't think Dorgu is, but Luke Shaw is a very good left back when fit. Yoro looks a promising talent. I think you've got decent enough players to be doing a lot better than you are, and I can't understand how Amarim's getting such an easy ride. Now, what I actually think is that a year ago, there was the big power struggle at Old Trafford between Dan Ashworth and, is it Barada? Barada?
And Wilcox.
And Dan Ashworth got sacked like 3 months after they spent all that money to bring him in, because he said Ruben Amorim is not right for this club. He's not the man for the job. he'd prefer Gareth Southgate. So they sacked him because he said he didn't want Amorim. But now he's being proven correct. He's been proven right that Amorim was wrong for Man United, and Barada doesn't want to sack him because he's then got to go to Jim Ratcliffe and say, "Here, Jim, I know I got you to sack your best pal last year, but I fucked up, you know." Because, you know, and that's what I genuinely think that's what's going on. Barada doesn't want to admit he's made a mistake. I apologise for swearing.
That's all right.
I feel that's what's going on, and I think it's to the detriment. I feel like, ironically, I feel if you'd have got Southgate last season, you would have probably finished top 7 without much effort at all. I feel like, I don't know if he's the right man for Man United, but I feel like what Man United, it is a bit like England. There's a lot of expectation.
Yes.
There's a lot of quality players, and it's just getting them all to gel as a unit. And I think that's Southgate's strength. So maybe, but then
we have no patience. As United fans, I can tell you we have no patience.
Well, that's it. Like if Southgate came in, it wouldn't matter what he did because he's been written off already. So, but I feel like you need that. You could do a lot worse and bring back Mourinho with this.
Well, he's available.
Mindset.
He's available.
He is. Although, really, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like, why not? He got you second, and it's been downhill ever since.
And he got stuffed up by Ronaldo. Like, let's be honest, Ollie. I think he was fairly close, and then Ronaldo came and completely just upset. Like, the way Ollie wanted to play did not fit the way that Ronaldo had to play, and he fell on his sword because of it. But yeah, enough about Man United. I just want to see us finish half decently this year.
I think it's a shame you're doing so badly. Like, when I grew up, Man United were the big bad guy. You know, like you watch a TV series, there's always that big bad guy you've got to take down. And now it's like watching the big bad guy in a nursing home, and he can't stop pissing himself, and you know he's having people have to come over and care for him, and it's just like it's not how you want to remember them. You want them to get to the former glories, just so the wins mean something. Because it doesn't really mean anything beating Man United at the minute. It's just like another team. When everyone's beating them, when they're winning 7 games in a year or something, what does it matter if you're just another team, just another notch on the bedpost?
Yeah, true. I mean, it's really funny. So many people in the chat just talking about how they don't like Southgate. I mean, I feel, honestly, to diverge a little bit, I feel like Southgate cost England a Euros and potentially a World Cup with his conservative tactics. I still think that the squad he took for England for those 3 tournaments, let's be honest, should have won comfortably, especially when they played Italy at home. How he did not go out there and spank Italy, who, let's be honest, I don't know how they made the final. I don't know how Italy won. It's still one of the things that needs a little bit of studying at university, because how they made away at Wembley with people storming the ground and the whole country we wanted our public holiday and we didn't get one because Southgate cooked it.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to that, I think the big problem in that final was that England scored so early, because then it's like for about 88 minutes, they were just trying to hold on to the lead. They were trying to protect the lead that they had. And then when Italy scored, all the momentum was with Italy. All the mindset was the Italians coming back, whereas England were on that defensive mindset and they couldn't really get out of it. So it didn't really surprise me that Italy went on to win. But I feel like Southgate messed the penalty takers up there. Like, when you've got 19-year-olds taking crucial penalties, I just thought it was a poor choice. But we're not here to talk about the Euros final from 4 years ago. I think Southgate deserves a lot more credit than most people give him, but I'm not going to argue with it today.
Fair. So Palace, they're next. They're in at 8th. Now they have Sunderland at home and West Ham away in the next 2. They've actually still got a pretty middling fixture run, because then it's Liverpool at home in 6, Arsenal away in 9, Everton and Bournemouth in between them. Now, their top scoring players are all defenders. So Gahey on 23, Lacroix on 22, Munoz on 19, aided by 2 clean sheets. Sarr, unfortunately for us, 18 points, potentially is going to be missing. He's yellow flagged. Still 75% chance of playing, but I think that realistically, I think he's missing. So they've scored 4 goals, kept 2 clean sheets, expected goals of 4.41, so very close to what they're doing there. And their expected goals conceded 3.7. So the defense has actually been pretty good, which is probably accounting for why all their defenders are some of the top scoring players in the game.
Yeah, I think Lacroix, very difficult name to pronounce.
Oh, you did it better than me.
Lacroix. I remember Lacroix. Lacroix, I think what I took away from Walsh on the FPL Wire last night, he said Lacroix is probably about £1 million underpriced.
Yep.
Because he's just going to keep picking up the def cons every week. And like we haven't really talked about, we're talking about teams and individuals, but when it comes to the strategy, his strategy was 5 at the back, all defensive contribution monsters, because what he says is they're just going to keep ticking over and keep picking up the points. And if you can get them like Senesi or not Kukure, but a Senesi or a Lacroix who's got a bit of attacking threat as well, like you get someone in an attacking fullback, Livramento, say, he gets an assist every 5 games. It's an extra 3 points every 5 games, maybe 4 if you include bonus. But you could get that in 2 games with these defensive contribution players. And it's made me a bit frustrated. He didn't do that stream the week earlier because I'd probably playing 5 at the back if I'd watched it a week earlier. So maybe it's a good thing. But Lacroix, I feel like I've missed a trick not getting him.
Same. I wish I got him instead of Collins. Like in my own team, yeah. I wish that I'd gone there instead.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his defensive contributions. Like it says he got 9 at the weekend. He actually got 10 on the Opta stat, so I don't know why they didn't award him that on the official site. They actually awarded him 10 points on Opta while the game was in progress. So you have to wonder if Mark Southerns doesn't have Lacroix in one of his rivals.
I reckon it's strategic.
But, 16 against Chelsea and 12 against Forest. These are elite numbers. And the way they play, and like the Sarr injury as well, they're probably going to be even more defensive. So Lacroix, maybe I'll bring him in this week and take on Liverpool with a Crystal Palace defender.
Why not?
But you could probably play him against Liverpool, against Arsenal, and still have a baseline of 3 points. And if they do keep a clean sheet, like they did against Man City in the cup final, you're talking 8 or 9 points without doing anything different to what he always does. So, yeah, I feel like I've missed a trick with the DEFCON. I don't have any Palace defenders. I was weighing up Munoz, and I believe after Sarr went off, he was playing almost as a forward.
He was.
The weekend. So, but then you've got the Liverpool game and the Arsenal game, and I think you'd rather have the DEFCON monster for those fixtures. So, but yeah, they look very good, Palace. I don't like Mateta. I know a lot of people are on Mateta this week for the Sunderland and West Ham games. But if West Ham have sorted themselves out, then it's Mateta for one game. And they're missing Sarr. They've lost Eze.
Yep.
Pino's injured. Where's the creativity going to come from?
I agree.
So I wouldn't be, if I had him, you'd obviously keep him, but I wouldn't be bringing in Mateta this week if I was on a wild card. I think it's a short-term move, and there's better ones. You can get better players for the longer term. Pedro, Haaland, and Gyökeres even would be better.
I agree. So I'll come back to, I saw a question in the chat really quickly. We'll answer this when we get to our teams. Which 5 defenders would you get in now as set and forget? I will come back to that question at the end. And I also saw Kevy said Collins was so close to getting a couple disallowed assists for us. I know that penalty miss was costly for my team. So on to Bournemouth. And the stats for Bournemouth, I was really surprised with. So they've scored 4 goals from an expected goals of 4.58. So pretty on par with that. They've kept 2 clean sheets, but their expected goals conceded, with Liverpool included in their fixture list, 2.9. Their defense has been unbelievably good. Even Liverpool, when they scored those 4 goals, the XG in that game for Liverpool is that they massively outscored it. So Senesi is obviously top scoring with 25 points. Spoiler alert, I sold De Kuiper before Senesi, Rose and Price, and he's now in my team. Semenyo on 23 points, started the first couple of games on fire. Tavernier's obviously done well as well with 18. And Diakati, who has replaced Hodgson, he's been pretty good as well, 16 points. So, like, there's a mix of attack and defense of Bournemouth. They've looked pretty good in both, to be honest.
Yeah, and they've still got Clivert to come back as well. Like, he's not really done much. But you wonder how much that's going to affect Semenyo as well when Clivert comes back, how much it's going to upset the balance. Tavernier is playing very well. I think he's been playing the Clivert role, hasn't he? So they're looking excellent. I thought they were in big trouble this season because they'd lost 4 out of 5 of the back line, and the one they'd kept was the one nobody wanted. Which I felt a bit bad for him, really, because you see everybody else in the defence get these massive moves. PSG, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and then, like, nobody wants him. And it's like, what have I done wrong?
Exactly.
I've been very impressed. Like, Senesi, they never had any real worries about because he kept hoisting out the team last season. But, for him to be as good as he has been, I think he's a must-have. Absolute must-have. And he's actually saving me a bit this week because I brought him in on my wild card as my sub. I lost out on his points, but now I'm not worried about playing him and going 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 if I need to.
Yep.
While you finish this off, I'm going to have to dash for a wee.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So yeah,
you cover me. Cover me.
So they've been really good value. I actually think Bournemouth, like, their fixtures is really good as well. So Brighton at home, Newcastle at home, Leeds away, Fulham at home, Crystal Palace away, and Nottingham Forest home. Like, they've got good fixtures as well. They're not in Europe, so you don't have to worry about rotation and stuff like that. They should be really good value. Now, I've seen a lot of debate in the chat about 5 at the back as a new meta, 3-4-3. Yeah, look, let's be honest. I actually think that 3-4-3 is my still preferred formation. I mean, the forwards have been popping off. In reality, maybe the formation should be 5-2-3 or 4-3-3. Maybe they're better formations based on the fact that the midfielders in general have been pretty poor to start the season, let's be honest. So, on to this. Who would have thought this? The 6th and 5th place teams are currently Sunderland in 6th and Everton in 5th. Now, who would have thought that these two teams would have scored 5 goals each? They've both kept 1 clean sheet. Ironically, Sunderland are the biggest overperformers of XG in the league. So they've got an expected goals of 3.07, but they've scored 5. Their expected goals conceded, though, which I thought was very interesting, only 2.8. So that in itself is very interesting. Their fixture run, other than the Chelsea away fixture in 9, actually looks fairly accommodating for Sunderland as well. I'm still a little bit shocked by the fact, but obviously they haven't really got that many points. Like, LFE has started no games and has 13 points, their 4th top scoring player. Isidore, ditto, 14 points, pretty much all from the bench. So the 2 of their 4 players have got their points from the bench in every single game. Roofs has been pretty good in goals, let's be honest. And Ballard obviously had the first 17-point haul of the season, got injured in game week 2 and is out for we don't know how long. But, I mean, surely we're not going to Sunderland now, are we? Surely.
I certainly am. I'm certainly not.
Neither am I.
To be fair, with regards, like, I think if you're going to, Ballard when he's back is probably the one. Yep. Like, he played even at the second game, he played 8 minutes against Burnley, and he got 2 defensive contributions in 8 minutes. I feel like he is going to be the one that he is going to be their talisman, but from defence. But no, you don't go anywhere near Sunderland.
What do you think of Sunderland?
We're all serious
what do you think of
players. Them? What do I think of them? I think they'll stay up.
What do you think of them?
I swore earlier in the stream, and I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good. So what I will say is, I think I'm glad the backup. I'm glad the backup because I'm looking forward to 6 points for Newcastle.
Yes, that's all we wanted to hear. And then Everton, 5th. Now they've also scored 5 goals, which is interesting. 1 clean sheet. Their expected goals of 4.33, but alarmingly, considering the teams that they have played the first 3 game weeks. They've got expected goals conceded of 5.6, which is very un-Moyes and very un-Everton-like. Now, their top scorers are Grealish, 22 points. He's looked like the Aston Villa Grealish in his first 2 starts for Everton. Pickford, obviously, with the penalty savers on 18 points. My man that I can't stand and should be putting in a grave and putting back in the graveyard, and Dye, is on 17 points. Now, I don't know if you call it luck or whatever, but Grealish has just found him and it's hit him rather than him being any good. And then Garner and Dewsbury Hall are both on 16 points. Now, Garner's been playing at left back because Everton had some injuries, but I think that he goes back into the midfield, which is why I included him over Dewsbury Hall, because people are going, why didn't you put Dewsbury Hall in there? He's the same amount of points. I just thought that everyone, like, Dewsbury Hall had one good game. Got a goal, got an assist, he got his big haul. Garner, I just think, is potentially more... I don't know. I'm not an Everton fan. If there's any Everton fans in the chat, let us know what you think. But I think that Garner stays in the team, even when the defenders come back, and maybe Dewsbury Hall's affected. I'm not sure. But again... I've been impressed by Everton, their scoring potential. I've been disappointed by their defensive incapabilities. I mean, Tarkowski's actually on 14 points because he's got DC points in every single game. But when I look at their fixtures coming up, they don't fill me with optimism. I mean, Aston Villa at home, Liverpool away, West Ham at home, the only good one, Crystal Palace at home, Man City away, and Tottenham at home. I mean, that's a pretty bad run. It should look a lot worse than what it looks in the colours, but I think they'll update that over the coming weeks on the official FPL site.
Yeah, what I think is really interesting about this run for Everton is this is where the defensive contributions are going to be put to the test. Excuse me, because like Tarkowski is the poster boy for defensive contributions. Well, now he's got Villa, Liverpool, Palace, Man City and Tottenham. Let's see how many points he gets out of this run. And then I feel like game week 10, we're going to know whether or not these DEFCON points are overpowered or not.
Yep, couldn't agree more. That's enough said on Everton because they're crap and I don't like them.
Grealish, I don't think Grealish will be sustainable. I know people think he's going to be getting like all these returns every game. I just don't think it's... David Moyes will revert to type before long. He's not looking at this and thinking, oh, isn't it great? Jack Grealish is getting all these attacking returns. He's looking at the defensive issues. He
is. I mean, the other thing is that we just need to keep an eye on, like, whoever plays FPL and Everton's team, when they pull Jack Grealish out, it's probably a sign he's injured. Because that's what happened when he played at Villa.
Yeah, this is it. No, but I mean, if I had a Tarkowski or a Grealish, I'd certainly be playing them in game week 4, 6 and maybe 7, but I wouldn't be bringing them in.
Yep. No, that's fair. So on to the North London clubs now who occupy 4th and 3rd. So Spurs with probably the best fixture run over the next 6 in the game, with West Ham away, Brighton away, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Aston Villa at home and Everton away. So 3 nice looking fixtures there in particular, but 2 of them are away. They've scored 5 goals from an XG, expected goals, of 3.62. So they're massively overperforming there. They've got an expected goals conceded of 4.1, and they've somehow managed to keep 2 clean sheets. I think they've been very lucky they didn't concede at home to Burnley. And let's be honest, Haaland missed a couple of good chances when they visited City there as well. But their top scorers, I'm going to get you to talk about this because you originally were going to go with Vicario, who is their top scorer with 21 points, and Brennan Johnson, who is third top scorer of 18. Richarlison's got 19 points, and Romero and Pedro Porro both have 15. So in case anyone's wondering why Pedro Porro's not there, I picked Romero because he's 0.6 now million cheaper. And I just think he's better for DC points long term. But talk to us about what could have been.
Well, yeah, like in my final draft before my deadline stream on game week 1, I had Vicario and Kinski as the goalkeeping double up. To guarantee that Spurs goalkeeper, and I had Brennan Johnson in the team, and as you can see, that's 39 points lost out on. So I could have Matt Sells in goal and whichever clown I've had in midfield. So it's not been great. It's been frustrating. Of course, in the Trigger Lips Clues video, we said Richarlison. We found the clue for Richarlison, and it sounded like madness. Who's going to have Richarlison? Well, Trigger's Parrot did, and he's got 19 points up front now. So, maybe what I need to do is just start pounding the beat and hitting the streets and seeing, like, picking my team from whatever I can find out there. But I feel like they've done well, Spurs. They have. I feel like you're perhaps a bit harsh on them. I feel like you're trying to will into existence that they're terrible.
It happened in game week 3.
Well, they had one loss. I don't think it was the end of the world to lose to Bournemouth. I think the big thing was how easily Bournemouth nullified them completely. That was a bit of a worry, but then they've got Simons to come in, they've got Kolo Muani to come in. These are exciting players with potential to be good, but also with any like unproven import, they've got the potential to be flops. And players at Spurs flop more than most teams. I feel like they're missing Maddison and Kulusevski. They've got a lot of creative talent out injured.
Yep. And they've got injuries. And remember last season when Europe started, the squad literally fell apart. Like the defense completely they all got injured. And like Europe hasn't started yet. They're about to go to 3 games a week pretty much. I don't know if I've got any confidence that they're not going to encounter the same amount of injuries again.
Maybe. I feel like defensively it's funny because they've got Porro and they've got Udogie and they've got Jed Spence who can cover both. And at any point, like, you could toss a coin to see which of those 3 are going to be starting, really. Like, Porro was subbed early in the last one. And then they've got Romero and Van der Ven, and that's it in centre-back. They've got Dragusin, who's not very good. And I suppose Danzo looked a bit promising in pre-season. But I don't know, they're a tough one to call. I do regret bringing Porro in on my wild card. I feel like that was a bit of a chasing the points that had gone, and they weren't even that good points. But then I look at the fixtures, and like you say, West Ham, Wolves and Leeds in the next 4, and I think, well, maybe I'll get away with that oversight.
I'm asking the chat, are they a good team? Too early to tell, or are they not?
I think it's too early to tell, but I think they've more chance of being a good team than a bad team this season. But I think it's probably good. They need to back Frank. I think if they give him a couple of years, you'll probably get them up there. He looks a decent enough manager. What his ceiling is, we just don't know. Is he another Eddie Howe, or is he another Graham Potter? We just don't know. Yeah. It's always hard for these managers when they've been at one club for so long, and then they leave that ecosystem that has been built around their philosophy and try and transplant that to another club. Sometimes it works, like Eddie Howe at Newcastle. Sometimes it goes tits up, like Graham Potter at Chelsea and West Ham and everywhere else he's going to end up in his career. So I think I think they are a wait and see, but I feel like if you've got them, you keep them for this run here. I think it's a good run.
Fair. Now, on to Arsenal, and it's not a surprise that their expected goals conceded is 2.2, which is it's just elite. What we've come to expect. They've kept 2 clean sheets from what, honestly, were pretty difficult fixtures other than Leeds to begin with. I expected them to concede at Man United. They probably should have. They've scored 6 goals, but pretty much all that came against Leeds at home from 4.67 expected goals. Calafiori and Timber have been elite. Now, everyone talks about Gabriel and bloody Saliba, and I've been saying for a long time, I said all last season that Gabriel is overrated because he literally scores about 3 goals a season on average over the last 6 years. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 3. But Jurriën Timber and Calafiori have the assist threat along with the goal threat, and because they play in the left and right back spots, they're highly likely to get subbed if Arsenal concede a late goal before the late goal's gone in, which is why I've always liked them. Plus, they're 0.5 million cheaper. David Reyes third with 16 points, and Rice and I think Saliba are also on 16 points. So the defence, again, is where the points are, but it's not in the usual suspects. It's not Gabriel, it's not Saliba, it's actually the left and right backs. I mean, Timber with 24 points is the highest scoring player in a game week this season, which is just unheard of. 2 goals and an assist is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have predicted Timber getting that score in that game, but could you? Like you say, I feel like Timber is probably the one from that defence. Calafiori would be if he could stay fit, but he's so injury prone. Like, he barely played last season, and he's a very exciting player. Very good going forward, very solid defensively, but with all due respect, there's a reason he's playing for Arsenal rather than a Real Madrid, and it's because he's not got that career. What's the term I'm looking for? Portfolio.
Yes.
He's not got that portfolio because he's not fit long enough to prove it. But when he is fit, I think he's a good one. But he's the sort of player you want on a free hit rather than in your team.
Yep.
I think Timber's a very good one. He's come to the last season. He made himself almost indispensable, I thought, and over the course. And I think he's the first choice right back now. But like you said, Ben White can come on after about 65 minutes and bank that clean sheet. But I also think he's the first choice cover at centre back. I know they've signed Mosquera and Hincapi, but I feel like Timber would be the first choice. Have I said that name wrong?
I don't know. I'm glad you said it, not me, because I had no idea how to say it.
I know nothing about him. I saw they signed him, and he's been ranked 5.5 million. So he must be. I think he's like the cover for Calafiori, which has all really left a bit. Lewis Skelly a bit out.
Yeah,
in
where's
the
he
cold
playing?
Well, he's warming the bench at the minute. But no, I feel like Timber's the one. Gabriel, he's just not the player people talk him up to be. Like, he gets 3 goals a season, and I just.
Everyone watches the big dogs. They watch the cartel and Andrew, and they all think that Gabriel's brilliant because they all watch him and they get hoodwinked into thinking he's brilliant. And I said last season on Wildcard, I was like, I would tell you, Milinkovic will outscore Gabriel comfortably. I mean, he did get injured, so that helped. But I think Milinkovic had him covered anyway, based on what Arsenal did over the last, 7 or 8 game weeks of the season. I struggle with the fact that Gabriel has no chance pretty much of DC points with the way Arsenal play. So he's literally relying on the clean sheet and his 3 goals a season. Like, that's not going to cut it. For that price, it doesn't cut it for me.
No, well, this is it. You make a very good point there. Arsenal defensively as a whole don't get a lot of defensive contributions. And for me, that just rules them out. If you got 6.1 million, if you're spending the maximum fee on a defender, you need to have multiple avenues to points, and Gabriel just doesn't have them for me. I feel like it's funny because I've always wanted them to have it where you get 2 points if you get to half time or half time for a clean sheet, and then make it 85 minutes or 90 minutes, you get the full, I would say, 5 points for a clean sheet. So, like, split the clean sheet in half. Well, they've not done that, but they have brought in these defensive contribution points, and I feel like I've overlooked it. I feel like that's been my biggest mistake. I've overlooked the impact of what these points can have, because it doesn't matter if you concede. You've gone from being like a 1 point floor to a 3 point floor.
Yep.
And when you times that by 3 or 4 players, suddenly you're talking an extra 8 points a week over 38 game weeks. It's 200 odd points. And I feel like I've really blundered by not prioritising the defensive contribution defenders. And that's what I will be focusing my transfers on, really, because I feel like I'd rather have a 5.5 million defender with DEFCON potential than a 5.5 million midfielder.
I agree. And that's the annoying thing about Forest defence, is that we all expected them to get DC points. Not one of them's got it in 3 game weeks, which is, I don't even know. I don't know if that's going to correct itself. Well, you'd like to think, you would think it would correct itself in game week 4. They go to Arsenal, you would expect them to probably get it this week. If they're not going to get it this week, they're probably all selves, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Olaina got it in the first game. And that was the one everyone said would never get it, and I think that's why I remember that, but I might be remembering incorrectly. But yeah, they've been an absolute disappointment. No, Aina did get them in the first game, but that's it. And Forest have been the disappointment of the season so far. But apparently, I'm in the cartel now.
I just seen that. I was like, I don't know. He's in the new cartel. So let's get on to Chelsea. Second in the league. Well, and I actually said before the season they were my sneaky bet to win the league. And they started slow against Crystal Palace in game week 1, but got a point from that, which was pretty good. They've scored 7 goals. They've had an expected goals of 6.7. They've had 2 clean sheets. Expected goals conceded of 2.4, so just behind Arsenal. Other than Liverpool at home in game week 7, the run of fixtures is still pretty good for Chelsea. Now, they've also got a really good spread of point scorers. So Chalobah, 27 points. Cucurella, 19 points in defence. Enzo Fernandez, 25 points as a 6.6 million midfielder. And João Pedro, who I'll admit, I originally had him in my team to begin the season, but then I thought, I feel like Liam Delap might start, and I chickened out of it. And the difference that has made has been unbelievable. 7.7 mil, so he's risen 0.2 in price already, 26 points. The dude has looked elite. I can't see him losing his spot anytime soon.
No, I would actually say he's as nailed as Cole Palmer at the minute, João Pedro. I think, why would you take him out of the team when he's playing the way he is? I think he's like becoming a bit of a talisman for them. Like that game against West Ham, he was at the heart of everything, really.
Everything.
I just think, you know,
I am not giving it to him.
I am not a João Pedro fan at all. And in one of my pre-season videos, I absolutely slated him. But sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, maybe I've got that one wrong. And I'm not convinced I have yet. But like, you don't take the gamble. Yeah. Like he could easily get 200 points this season. You know, if you think Chris Wood did last season, there's no reason João Pedro couldn't. It's just that penalty. You know, he didn't take the penalty, and that was a bit of the frustration. But we all expected Cole Palmer to be on them anyway, so I wouldn't say it's the end of the world. But I feel like what we have to do at this moment is give a little shout out to our man Roberto Hollis from the pubcast, from Performance Temporary Podcast. Chalobah, he called it pre-season, and 27 points, top scoring player in the game.
Mad.
And João Pedro, how often has he used the phrase generational talent for Pedro? Yeah. And how often have I shut him down? Well, don't I look stupid now with him all the way up them rankings, so far on the horizon that the curvature of the earth has taken him out of my field of vision. And well, this is what happened. So well done, Roberto, for that one. But yeah, I think Chelsea look good. I think they'll be. I think the top 2 will probably be the top 2 come game week 38.
I think Trig's pretty happy with the way they've started as well. Like Cucurella is obviously my boy from last year, and I'm not surprised he started well. He's actually not blanked in any single game. So when they didn't keep a clean sheet, he got an assist, and obviously he's got the clean sheet in the other 2. So he's been very consistent. Enzo, obviously, we now know if Cole Palmer doesn't play, that Enzo Fernandez is on penalties, which probably increases his appeal there. But let's get on to Liverpool, and I'm still a little bit shocked on these stats, and this is really interesting. So Liverpool's stats, they've scored 8 goals from an XG of 3.43. You wouldn't think that is sustainable across the course of a season, but you never know. Mo Salah was one of the biggest XG overperformers last year. They've obviously kept 1 clean sheet on the weekend against Arsenal. Expected goals conceded, ironically, is a lot lower than I thought it was. So it's only 3.1 across the 3 games. Their top scoring players, obviously, Ekitike, 8.7 million, 22 points. Gakpo, which I'm very glad the card went with over Wirtz, at 7.7 million, 20 points. It's 20 points. I would have been worse off if it wasn't for him. Szoboszlai, I normally say Slobozlai, but Szoboszlai, I've actually nailed it for once. 6.5 million, 17 points there. And then Mo Salah, probably, I mean, he's made it, 17 points. But I'm not sold on him at all. For 14.5 mil, I want him to be at least what Haaland's got, which is 24. I just think, I mean, he's got Burnley away and Everton at home. So you would expect if there's a 2 weeks where he's going to perform, it's going to be the next 2. But I'm still not convinced he's going to perform, even with those fixtures, based on what I've seen from Liverpool so far.
No, I think Salah is certainly not proven worthy of the 14.5 million fee. I feel like there's a lot of people trying to justify keeping him because of his historical performance, but this is a different Liverpool team. They're playing in a different way. They're trying to learn a different way. And Salah, He's old now, 33 years old. You look at how quickly Kevin De Bruyne dropped off. He went from, well, we all said, oh, the way he plays, he'll be able to go till he's 40, De Bruyne. And then it just like overnight, he was gone. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Salah, but like, what more has the man got to prove? I think he got his big contract, and then it all sort of leveled off after he got his big contract. And that often happens in football, even with the best players, to play for the big payday and then once to secure it, and you have to wonder if that's going to happen with Isak. He played all last season, he played most matches, but now he's got the big move. Is that aching groin that he's playing through for Newcastle to secure the move, is that now going to make him say, oh, I'll just be a bit cautious this time? I don't know.
Historically, he doesn't play 3 games a week, Isaac. He struggles with 3 games a week. So I think, lots of people say he's going to impact on Ekitike's minutes, on Gakpo's minutes. But honestly, as I said before, I still think Slot loves Gakpo. I can't see Gakpo not starting, if I'm being brutally honest. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but based on what I see, every time that man is fit, he starts. So if he's starting and gets 60 minutes, you'd expect him to normally be involved, and he has been to start the season.
Yeah, I feel like I feel Gakpo is going to have a lot more minutes than people are giving him credit for. I'm considering bringing him in as a replacement for Ismail Assar, even just for the short term. But I feel like you can't just fill your team with superstars. You have to have these workhorses that knit it all together. And it looks nice. Oh, let's get Ekitike, let's get Isak, let's get Wirtz, let's put them in the team with Salah. But you've got 4 players. Who's knitting it all together? Well, you need your Gakpo. I actually think they should probably be playing Szoboszlai in attacking midfield as well over Wirtz. I feel like it's going to take time for it all to knit, and I feel like Gakpo will be the one that ends up buying them the time. I feel him and Isak and Ekitike will all have comparable minutes. Yep. I feel they will all play, 66% of the football. And I think sometimes if Isak starts on the bench, I think he'll come on for one of them, the other will play 90, and then in the next game that'll be leveled off. The one that was subbed off will probably play 90 minutes the week after. So that's how I feel. I feel you're going to get, if you pick one, you're going to get 1 hour and 60 minutes 150 minutes out of every 180 minutes. I feel like you'll get for all of them, pretty much. So I rate Gakpo. He's got an incredible home record at Anfield as well. So yeah, like I say, I'm still considering him, even if with Isak, who I think is going to be a massive flop at Liverpool.
I think he's massively. I think they're massively overspent. So, but they do have 2 nice fixtures. But after that, I think I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to watch Liverpool. I think it's going to be a lot of slot roulette, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, on to the main event. Here is FPL Nightmares Game Week 3 team. He's going to talk through his score of 51, his rank, while I also do what you just did because I really need to go as well. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, Gary. I'm going to FPL Cub Pass and Tactical Piss.
I'm going to have to raise the energy levels. I've been a bit too laid back. So this is my team, which actually hasn't updated on my monitor yet, so I can't really see it very well. But in goal, I have Vicario. I have Porro, Livramento, Cucurella in defence. Cunha, Kudos, Sarr and Barnes in midfield. Wood, Pedro and Haaland up front. And what can you do? I can see Darius has renamed Agbadu as Nathan Collins. But yeah, my season this has been the pattern of behaviour for my team. I've got great players, and I'm having them at the wrong time. Or, people say it's not a game of luck, but it is. When you've got 3 great attackers from Man United, and the one you pick out of the 3 gets injured, what can you do? Newcastle lose. They're down 2 strikers, and then they're attacking. The third attacker gets suspended. You can't legislate for Eddie Howe then deciding to play 5-4-1 away at a promoted team and dropping his second top goal scorer. It's just, the week before this one, Anthony Gordon as captain, it looked so dangerous, and then he gets a red card. And I don't feel like I've taken many gambles with my team. I feel like the gambles are actually, strangely enough, the ones that are paying off. Reinders in game week 1, he got me points. Like Senesi on the bench, maybe a bit more of a gamble. But I feel like when you look at this team, it's the players. I feel like they're all solid FPL picks. I feel like they have been all season, and for whatever reason, they've just not worked for me. That's what it is. But we're not getting downhearted. I am a big believer in the story, in the narrative, the power of the narrative, and I'm hoping this is the narrative of my season, is the glorious comeback rather than the cautionary tale. But of course, the big issue is next week I have no Liverpool players, and they play Burnley, which is probably the plum fixture of the weekend. So what I was considering was Chris Wood to Ekatike, but I can't justify that with Cunha and Sarr injured. I could go for one of them out for Gakpo. I've got no interest in Mo Salah. And the other thing I'm actually considering is Agbadou to Van Dijk and playing 5 at the back, which might seem a bit strange, but with these DEFCON points, maybe what I need is to get some solid players who can tick over the points. And when you're thinking about how do you launch a comeback in this game, because it's still early, it's not unsurmountable, and maybe 100 points off the pace, I think that's catchable. It's you're talking maybe 4 points a game week. It's a clean sheet, or it's 2 defensive contribution points from 2 players. So what I'm thinking is, what is my best avenue of difference? And maybe it is gambling on these DEFCON players before the meta of FPL changes. Maybe the way back up these rankings is to go all in on the DEFCONs before everybody else gets on it. I don't know. I'm still weighing it up. I've got a week to decide. But I've got 3 attacking fullbacks in there, and I'm thinking that could have been Lacroix. It could have been, Vandenberg, it could have been Van Dijk, but we'll see. I don't think I can get rid of all my attacking fullbacks. I like Cucurella because he's good till game week 16, and I don't need to think about him.
What are your current moves at the moment? What are you thinking of doing?
I'm thinking Agbadou to Van Dijk.
Yep.
Because I just think, how can I improve the points the most? And I think that might actually do it. Like if he gets a goal and a clean sheet and DEFCON points, that could be massive. I mean, I might even captain Van Dijk if I get him in. I was thinking Wood to Ekatike, not so much now. I'm not against the hit, but I feel like it's probably not worth it. I'm probably going to bench Cunha and Sarr and Agbadou, I would say, and just go. I'm tempted to just roll and just go with what I've got.
Fair. I mean, I just sit there and think, I looked at your team game week 1 and 2, and I just thought, my God, I thought I was unlucky, but you were even more unlucky than me. And look, the picks, when I look at the team, I'm like going, this is a good team. Like, it should be scoring more than 51 points. I mean, it would have if we hadn't gone Cunha captain, and we'll talk about that when we have a look at my team as well. I mean, I was going to captain Haaland, and I should have captained Haaland, and all of a sudden the game week would be a much better green arrow. But the thing I did look at, like even in the in our leagues, people above us. So the person that's leading my league at the moment, I'm currently ranked 800 odd spots in my own league, which is just crap. But the bloke that's leading it has played his wild card, has played his bench boost, and he's on 220 points. So I'm like 100 points behind, but I've got 4 chips still in the bag for the first half of the season. So you've got to look at it in context. And I think at this point, like lots of people are wildcarding. This week is a very popular week for wildcarding. I mean, Trigger's on obviously his own wildcard. I'm sure Gary's contemplated it because, let's be honest, Gary's team needs a wildcard. If he's in the chat, I hope he's listening to that. And because his team's got both Andersons that need to go. Viewers spiked on that comment as well that Gary needs a wild card, so the chat knows what's going on. But essentially, I sit there and I go, I don't understand why people are wild carding this week. There are so many unknowns that we do not know about, like how the new signings that were bought after game week 3, before the transfer window closed, how they're going to impact. Are they going to start? Are they going to take, like, for example, Xavi Simons for Tottenham? People are saying he's great on set pieces. Others are saying he doesn't take them. We won't know until he's played a few games for Spurs. We also don't know how Koulibaly is going to impact, say, Richarlison and Johnson's minutes, but yet people are going to be buying them because of the fact that Tottenham's run looks amazing. But in reality, we don't know how it's going to go. Then we have a look at Sarr and Cunha. At the moment, we're expecting them to miss game week 4, but you never know. Cunha apparently is already back in training. Maybe he doesn't even miss. And then he plays. And then
best not. I could do with him, like.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, these things are all just so intangible. I mean, like, and then obviously we've got Europe. Europe starts after game week 4. So we don't know how the big clubs are going to rotate their squad for like games in Europe versus games in the Premier League. So for example, if they've got a Burnley in the Premier League, are they just going to rest all the players we think are going to get us points? Like, we don't know. And it's hard to guess.
This is it. This is when there's a big overhaul in teams. It's always hard because you just don't know what's happening. And like, I feel like every team that you want to target has had a big overhaul in attack. And I feel like it's going to take time for them all to gel. Like Newcastle, big overhaul. Arsenal, big overhaul. Eze, Gyökeres. Liverpool, massive overhaul. Man City, even they've brought in Cherki. They've brought in Marmoush, who's still relatively new. The Reinders. I'm sure there's someone else I'm forgetting. Like, all the big teams have had these big overhauls, and it's going to take time, and it's going to be inconsistent for a while. Now, another thing, like, maybe it is a bit mad to think of rolling, but I am also weighing up a hit. Like, when I wildcarded, I had a hit in mind, and it's a different one now. But, like, I'm thinking if I do Collins and say Sarr to Van Dijk, well, I can't get to Fernando, but I could do Cunha and Collins. You've wrote Collins on Agbadou and it's confusing me.
I deliberately did that. I wanted to see if you'd pick it up. And you
bloody hell, Collins has
every time.
Collins has spent a bit of time on the sunbeds this week, hasn't he?
Exactly. I'm like, oh, this is hilarious.
But I think I can get from Cunha and Agbadou to Fernandez and Van Dijk. And I feel like maybe that's worth a -4. I know it's a Manchester derby, but I feel like Man City are going to concede. And why wouldn't it be Fernandez? You know, so maybe there's options. It's how much I've already taken some big risks, and you know, maybe going without Liverpool is a risk too far. Maybe I should just get in Gakpo and Van Dijk and then take it from there. But the thing is, having used a wild card, I'm forced to look for long-term solutions rather than these short-term players, because I just don't know. Like, I've got one transfer and I've got no wild card. So I have to look for the long-term solutions. Van Dijk, long-term solution. Gakpo, not so much. But Fernandez is. Maybe I just take the hit and get them two in, and then over the coming weeks, it'll all start to tidy itself up. You know, because I wouldn't be against playing 5 at the back. If you think Porro, Livramento, Cucurella, Senesi, and Van Dijk, they could all get points this week. And that Fernandez in midfield with Kudos and Barnes, and then Pedro and Haaland up front. And I think that actually looks a lot stronger than people are perhaps imagining off the top of their heads. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Chris Wood against Arsenal, I wouldn't rule it out. Football is funny.
Same. I wouldn't rule it out either. So I just closed the poll. This is such an even poll on this one. So are Spurs a good team? Too early to tell, 38%. Yes, 30%. No, 30%. That's about as even as it gets.
This is it. Well, I think too early to tell is correct. You know, there's not been enough games played. You know, they've played Man City off the park and then just got done at the weekend by Bournemouth, and you don't know which are the anomalous results. So you just have to see, especially given they have got these injuries in attack, but I feel like they're light in defence. I do. I feel they needed another defender rather than another attacker.
Yeah. So on to my team now, and I also got 51 points, but I took a -4. So in reality, I got 47. Now, I also made the brilliant moves of bringing in Cunha and Sarr, a bit like Andrew did. And I also made the brilliant move of captaining Cunha, which got me exact same amount of points as you, which I still think to this day was exceptionally unlucky, because when I watched that game and being a United fan, literally everything in that first half an hour was going through Cunha. It was a matter of time before he either scored or got an assist. And when he went off injured, I was like, oh, this is our luck, isn't it? And then when Bruno scored that penalty at the end, I was like going, what could have been? And then when Haaland obviously got the 9 points, I was like, well, he was my vice captain. And originally I was like, oh, I feel like Haaland's definitely going to score. He's got a great record at Brighton. I mean, I obviously took a -4, so I got rid of Cole Palmer and Saka, who didn't play, and obviously got rid of Bowen for Haaland, which was a 0-0 result because they both got 9 points. But I feel like...
No, I think it was a good result because you've got that Burnley game to come.
Yeah.
I feel like it's, you wouldn't want, you prefer Haaland this week over Bowen. You'd probably prefer him next week over Bowen, even though he's got Arsenal, and then it's Burnley. So I feel like at some point you're going to have to make that transfer. You might as well make it as early as possible.
I actually think that if I'd got the captaincy right this week, the -4 would have really paid off big time. At the end of the day, it was still a slight green arrow. I mean, thanks to Juve coming off the bench. Thankfully, Dorgu was benched and didn't come on, because I was definitely saved by the brilliance of Amarin not bringing on Dorgu for 10 minutes, which was nice. But yeah, Juve, pretty lucky. But again, the bench, lots of points. Even Ilson, 8 points stuck on the bench, and I did a last-minute decision and played him on the bench instead of Reindeers. And again, I keep asking myself, why did I do that? Because there's a reason why I bought Reindeers to begin with, because he's a City player, so I'm happy with him being on the bench. And he's cheap at 5.7 million. I don't even have to kind of think second, but I just kind of expected City to score more goals than they did against Brighton. And I thought potentially he would be involved in that. Unfortunately, he wasn't, and here we are. So, I mean, I am open to a -4. So I'll tell you what I've already done. So De Kuyper is gone from my team. Senesi is in, and I'm waiting. So I'm waiting to see what happens with Sarr and Cunha, what potential news there is. Because at the moment, it's been rumoured by apparently the African Association that Sarr plays for, reckons he's got a grade 2 hamstring, but no one from the club has officially confirmed it. So until they do, I think it'd be stupid and madness to move him on. And then Mark Goldbridge, hate him or love him, but his sources are normally pretty good. And he's basically said that Cunha's back in training and they expect him to feature against Man City. Now, if he's playing against Man City, based on what I've seen from Man City so far, I expect Man United to score. So, therefore, I could just, if Cunha's fit, I could still play my 3-4-3, which would be Juve, probably Milinkovic, and Senesi. Then it would be even Ilson, Watkins, and Haaland. Sarr would drop to the bench because realistically he's the one that not. And then we'd play Cunha, Gakpo, Reindeers, and Fernandes. Now, if Cunha didn't play, I'd then have Collins coming off the bench, which doesn't feel overly bad as well. So, but I am weighing up a -4 because I'm an aggressive messenger. I don't mind taking hits. I've even looked at getting a -8 and getting rid of Cunha and Sarr. So I quite like Enzo Fernandez. And I will admit, I don't like Ndiaye, but I like someone in that Everton team, Mr. Super Jack Grealish. I did say at the start of the season I thought he'd be great. And it turns out so far he has been. But that's honestly what I'm looking at for my own team. Now, I'll be holding Watkins, and the chat's probably like, going, why are you keeping Watkins? I just think that there's no way that Villa can continue not scoring goals. Like with the run of fixtures over the next 4 weeks, he's got to score at some point then.
Seems like famous last words to me.
Well, yeah, it could be, but I'm happy to roll it because I'm like, I feel like he's going to be one of them players that as soon as I sell, he'll do a Jared Bowen and get like 2 goals.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth removing him for a hit, because you're looking at whoever you bring in to having to get a return just to match the score of the 2 points plus the 4 points you've paid. So I think it's just not worth it.
Yep. So if you've got any last minute questions really quickly before if you've got any last minute questions, we've been going for well over 2 hours, and my missus said, "Are you going to be on track for 10:30 to come help me pick me up?" Which is 19 minutes away. So if you've got any questions, now's the time to whack them in the chat, and me and Andrew will take turns answering them. But we're going to literally leave that for 5 minutes. So if you've got any questions, whack them in now. But sorry, I cut you off before.
You're all right. I was being rude and interrupting anyway to talk about myself, my favourite subject.
Yes, that's all I love to hear. A bit of that.
I've just looked at my team and I actually can't do Agbadou and Cunha to Fernandes and Virgil. I'm that famous 0.1 million short.
Oh, no.
So, well, maybe I just leave Fernandes and just keep Cunha, hope for the best, and then get Virgil in, and then I can maybe take a hit next week and have a look at it more then. It would mean, if I did that, I'd have Virgil against Burnley, Porro against West Ham, Livramento against Wolves, Cucurella against Brighton, Senesi against Brighton, and Cucurella against Brentford. So that defence, those 5 are fine. I'd have Rangers against Man United, Haaland against Man United, Barnes against Wolves, Kudus against West Ham, and Pedro against Brentford. I actually think as a 5-3-2, that's probably fine without a hit, and Chris Wood on the bench. So I feel like I maybe shouldn't be taking a hitter. Yeah, I should just get Virgil in and reassess. Maybe Cunha's fit, maybe Sar's fit. Who knows? But if they're not, I feel like I've got enough cover that a hit for me would be a bit daft.
No, I love it. So let's get into some questions. I've got a quick fire on that. This is a good one. Would you bring Anthony Gordon back?
Well, in the Newcastle team or my FPL team?
Both.
He's in my bad books at the minute, I will say that. What I would say is he got a red card last season right before the cup final, and he was out for 3 matches, and then Harvey Barnes stepped up to the plate and Gordon didn't get back in the team all season. So I would wait until he gets back in the team first. But if he's in the team, of course, he's a dangerous player. But I think if Gordon's firing, then Wissa will be firing, and Wissa's going to be the exciting one.
João Pedro or Mateta on free hit?
Pedro. Oh, on free hit?
Yeah.
Pedro.
I'm going to go Mateta. Better
see, I can see that, but I feel like Pedro's got the creativity around him that perhaps Mateta is going to be missing with the absence of Eze having left, and then Sarr perhaps, and the other one, Pino. And also Munoz will have been travelling back from South America ahead of the game. But he's got penalties, and if you're on a free hit, you might as well take the penalty taker.
Yep.
I would probably have both.
Haaland or Gakpo captain?
Haaland. Easy.
Same.
Easy.
Yeah. I'm the same. I've got Cody Gakpo vice captain this week, but I'm captaining Haaland against Man United. It's good. Lots of people have enjoyed this. People ask them once every 2 weeks, 2 times a month. FPL Messi. I mean, we could definitely make it happen, surely.
Well, you can catch us on the pubcast together on Wednesday night.
Yeah, we'll be back next week.
Arguing with Grumpy Trigger Lips.
We're telling him his wild cards in the bin.
Yeah, while Gary hosts his way to us telling him what to do with his team because he can't go over to research. But I was going to say something and it's slipped my mind now. How's my audio been for the last bit? I've noticed it's not been mentioned in the chat. Has it sorted itself out?
I think it's been fine. It's just an odd crackle here and there, but nothing too bad. So it's been good.
I wonder if it's because I had the gain too high and I was just talking a bit loud into the microphone. Always a possibility.
The Black Grealish, Elanga or Cunha to Reindeers or Eze or Szoboszlai. So which one would you sell and which one would you buy?
Well, I wouldn't be selling Elanga because he's the only one of him and Cunha that we know is fit and he plays Wolves.
Yep.
So I would be selling Cunha. I would chance Eze.
I think I'd go Eze as well. With Saka out, I think I'd agree. I think I'd go Eze.
Yeah. Szoboszlai obviously got that great free kick, but that's not very replicable, and we just don't know what's going to happen with that Liverpool team. Frimpong could be back. Conor Bradley might be back. I don't know. They might even play Gomez at right. Well, they're not going to play Gomez against Burnley, but yeah, Rangers. like, I wouldn't be bringing Reinders in. I wouldn't be panicking too much if you didn't have him. If you've got him, he's very handy. It's nice he's playing 90 minutes every week, but I don't think he's going to be a game breaker. He's more of a Morgan Rogers than a Cole Palmer.
How about Barnes? Is he a sell?
Not for me. He will be next week though. But yeah, you don't sell a proven goal scorer like Harvey Barnes ahead of a home game against Wolves. I just think that's just a mistake. So there's surely other players you need to sell more this week. I think Barnes is worth the chance, but I wouldn't be bringing him in, and I'd certainly be probably selling him next week.
All right, on that note, folks, I have to officially go. The missus is calling me, so we're going to have to call it an abrupt end. Thank you to everyone that's joined the chat and has watched the stream. It's been very well supported today. So all I can say is it's got to be down to the guest, FPL Nightmare. If you haven't already, at the end of this, go and check out his channel at FPL_Nightmare. I think he's going to put a link.
Just FPL Nightmare.
He's going to put a link in the chat. Put a link in the chat there. Again, if you guys want to join the FPL WhatsApp community, it's free to join. There is a link in the stream description, so just click the more info and it's in there. And on that note, goodbye, and we'll be back again doing this soon. I can guarantee you that.